Eagle 98.1 Game Day is on.
Presented by Super Chevy. See your Super Chevy dealers of Baton Rouge.
This is LSU football.
Nussmeier firing on the slant. Catch made by Anderson. Stays up right down the middle of the field. Katie bar the door. He's to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers. Handoff, Caden Durham through the middle into the end zone. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers.
LSU football on Eagle 98.1, the flagship home of the Tigers. Tonight from Tiger Stadium, it's the LSU Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now,
Here's Charles Sandegriff and Matt Musso.
Burbank and Lee, welcome to Eagle 98.1. Charles Sandegriff along with Matt Musso. Our entire staff is get you ready for tonight's game between the LSU Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Both teams enter tonight with an overall record of 6-2. Both won a bye last week. LSU is 3-1 in the Southeastern Conference, while Alabama is 3-2. The College Football Playoff poll has the Tide at number 11 and the Tigers at number 15. And that's where we begin our discussion today. For the winner, the path to the inaugural 12-team playoff remains clear. Win out in the regular season, and a ticket in is all but secured. For the loser, barring a series of unlikely events, this season will play out into a bowl game, what will likely resemble an exhibition contest. To call this a CFP elimination game is accurate. 2 weeks ago, LSU was cruising along against Texas A&M with a 10-point lead in the second half. The Tigers had first place in their sights when the Aggies changed quarterbacks, and then both teams' seasons changed right along with it. Marcel Reed went over, around, and through the LSU defense. The A&M momentum carried over to their defense. They intercepted Garrett Nussmeier 3 times. The 15-point Tiger loss leaves the team with no more room for error. Tonight, they face an even better runner at quarterback in Jalen Milroe, who was the catalyst of the Tide's victory over LSU last year in Tuscaloosa. He simply cannot duplicate that performance if LSU expects to win. For both of these teams, there have been great moments. The Tide's victory over Georgia included a first half for the ages, and the second half that LSU played against Ole Miss was probably their best 30 minutes of the season. Both teams got hard-fought wins over South Carolina, and both got convincing non-conference wins over Power 4 schools, Wisconsin and UCLA. But both teams have had their low spots, too. The Tigers' season-opening loss to USC has not aged well, and Alabama lost to Vanderbilt for the first time in 40 years. So, as usual, this game will be of the highest intensity with huge stakes for both. These are the games that make heroes, that make memories. The last time they met in this stadium, Musso, it may have been the best one ever, or maybe they top it tonight. Who knows?
I'm all for them topping it tonight, Hanny, especially if the outcome's the exact same. I mean, I wouldn't be upset with Mason Taylor scoring a go-ahead or a two-point conversion. Well, maybe just a winning touchdown. Let's leave the overtime out of it. But, yeah, I mean, here we go. You and I were talking before the show. It's Bama week, but it necessarily hasn't felt like it. It does now. Like, today now feels like game day.
There have been a lot of other things going on this week. We began the week with a hurricane that looked like it might be coming in our direction. There was a massive election, obviously, on Tuesday. There have been distractions for the fans and other things going on. The other thing, of course, is this is the first time since 2006 that this game does not include Nick Saban on the sideline. He is here in town, but for the media and not for the Tide. And that certainly changes some things when you talk about how this game is perceived. But again, the stakes are at the highest for these teams that they want to compete in the inaugural 12-team college football playoff. We're set to go here at Rouse's. If you're on your way into campus, stop on by for all your tailgating supplies, all your ice, all your beer, your wine, your spirits, all your meats, and all your tailgating supplies right here at Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. This is the Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Autorlocks, presented by William Crane Allstate Insurance Agency. For auto, home, life insurance in the Baton Rouge and surrounding areas, William Crane Allstate Insurance Agency. Now, here's Jimmy Ott.
And we bring in Jimmy to get us up to date what's going on around college football and some thoughts about some of the other later games. Jimmy, good afternoon. How are you?
Doing great. Just hunkering down over here at the DraftKings Sportsbook at the Queen Casino, where we'll be doing Football Sunday tomorrow.
The early story is Miami, ranked 4th in the country, is in a fight. They are trailing, but they just scored a touchdown, went for 2 and missed. So it's 21-16 Georgia Tech with a little under 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. Haynes King is playing in this game, but Georgia Tech's used 2 quarterbacks, and they have run the football very effectively. Jimmy, this has got obviously major implications. Miami 9-0. They've escaped a couple of times before. Will they do it again today?
We don't know. It's right on the number. You know, it's right about a pick 'em right now. But Charlie, the story of the game has been Georgia Tech's defense. We know Miami's very as good as it gets on offense, but shaky on defense. They scored on the first play from scrimmage, a 75-yard touchdown pass, and then it was, you know, with 2.5 minutes to go in the third before they could get in the end zone again. So Georgia Tech it looked like it was going to be a shootout. I mean, it was 10-7 early, but the thing really calmed down. But now both these teams have scored touchdowns again on their last 2 possessions. Because I thought it was going to be a track meet the way it started. But the Tech defense has provided a lot of stops, including 2 fourth-down stops where Miami went to it in kind of in-between territory.
I'm just going to touch on this game briefly because it's not much of a contest. Texas is up 42-3. The only real intrigue here was whether Florida would maintain their streak of scoring that goes all the way back to 1988. They just got a field goal, so that they'll do that. But, Jimmy, I was a little bit surprised to see DJ Lagway even considered to play in this game. He's on the sideline. He's not in uniform. He's got his jersey on, but he doesn't have his pads on. Watching Florida, the young man is obviously really outmatched. For LSU next week against Florida, I never even considered that Lagway was going to play again this year, but apparently they're holding out hope.
To me, it's Billy Napier playing little games there. He dressed out, was fully dressed in pads, and warmed up, and they come out and he's just in his, no pads and a jersey on. So, what do you know, man? It's same thing with Haynes King. He started, he did, but we didn't know they would have to rotate. So, King is way more effective than the backup quarterback, and they've needed him. But I don't know, man. And we'll see with the Army quarterback later today because he's such a big deal in their offense. But I don't think it was truly a game-time decision. I thought it was a little gamesmanship by Napier.
2:30 kickoff between the hedges, Georgia and Ole Miss. Massive game, and the forecast calls for rain. I saw some pictures here just a few minutes ago. The weather is not great up there. Georgia holding as I'm looking at a 2-point favorite. What do you think?
Pros versus Joes here. 87% of the tickets, DraftKings Sportsbook, are on Georgia. 85% of the tickets at Bet Rivers is on Georgia, but some respected money coming in on Ole Miss has knocked this thing down. I'm seeing some 1.5 out there as well. So classic spot where the sharp money versus the square money, and I'm on Ole Miss as well. And Ole Miss, one of only 2 teams in the country, top 10 in scoring and top 10 in fewest points allowed. The only other one is Indiana, and we know that Ole Miss's schedule is much tougher than Indiana's, which their strength of schedule is in triple digits. So I really, they put themselves in a spot. They lost the two games by 3 to LSU and Kentucky. Lack of discipline and the lack of capitalizing on opportunities has put them where they got to win. And if they do win, they should run the table, just like Alabama, just like LSU. So big game in the Grove for Ole Miss today. And I think they're going to get it done, man. That 26 player injury list was a little bit of a lane towards Sankey, and so that's total BS. And so I think that Harris might still be out, but besides that, Pegues is in. The other kid from defensive tackle from A&M, he's playing. So a lot of these guys were questionable and doubtful, and that's just not what's going to happen.
Also at 2:30, Indiana tries to go to 10-0 for the first time in school history. They got the big game coming up with Ohio State in a couple of weeks. But today they got to get by the defending champs, and they are a little bit better than a 2-touchdown favorite here.
I mean, they keep pushing it up. I mean, that's a big number for Indiana against Michigan, even in as good of a year it's been for Indiana and as poor of a year for Michigan. But damn, but they keep covering. And last week, 10-0 Michigan State, 47 ripped the rest of the way. This team is all that we do with college football handicapping, situational, letdown spots, field rush fade. They're immune to all of it, man, because they're hungry. They're hungry, and it's not just the X's and O's, the paying attention to fundamentals, but the psychological preparation, getting this roster to respect their opponents week in and week out. Another case, Rod Cignetti, this coaching job, is the best that I've seen in my lifetime.
3:15 on the SEC Network. South Carolina is at Vandy. We saw this line climb yesterday, Jimmy. We even had some speculation about whether Diego Pavia might be a little bit banged up. By the way, he sued the NCAA this morning,
yes,
over eligibility for junior college players, but and he's certainly on a roll. So this line holding at 6.5. South Carolina, we've certainly visited this angle before, coming off a big emotional win against A&M last week and now going on the road.
Yeah, all three of us, you, me, and Max, like them. Paul Stone likes them. They haven't lost a game by 6 points or more. The 2 SEC losses were by 3 points, and they've had a pretty good SEC schedule. In Pavia, a little wear and tear, a little pain, he's fine. if he can get out there and walk, he's going to play and he's going to compete as well. So I like Indy. Vanderbilt here, especially, Charlie. South Carolina, that's an emotional win. Is it, I know Indiana's immune to it, but most teams aren't. This is a tough turnaround for South Carolina after their game of the year early last week and having to go to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt. I think the game should be a pick 'em. Yes, I'll definitely take 6 points.
Tonight in Tiger Stadium, 2 6-2 teams, LSU and Alabama. It's always fun, and for the winner, you're in line to get to the playoffs. If you the loser, you're kind of playing out the string for whatever bowl game. Last year, Jalen Milroe was the difference in this game. His running was what brought the game home for the Tide. They both had highs, they both had lows this year. What do you think tonight in Tiger Stadium, where LSU is a small underdog?
I like the stadium, and I mean it's going to be all that. So I mean, had a few freshmen from Alabama spend the house, fed them breakfast this morning. Said you don't want this ass whipping on the empty stomach. So boys. So I mean, it's going to be special tonight. I mean, this is where Tiger Stadium shows that they're the best. I mean, the weather is going to cooperate. It seems like too. So big game at night, good weather, bam. I mean, that parking lot's a walk-on. So when I was coming down to the Queen at 10 a.m., not a spot left, in that parking lot, that big grass field in the corner of Burbank and Nicholson. So, and Milroe has been shaky on the road, Charlie. I mean, I don't think anybody could do what he did against Georgia with his legs and his arm, okay? But he's inconsistent. They're dropping him back too much, where some Alabama fans are wondering if he's a little banged up because they're not using his legs as much as you would think so. But I like Nussmeier coming back here and being at home. I think these two teams are very comparable. I am very surprised that LSU's getting points. But still, Alabama's got a little bit better branding than Ole Miss, the perception. But this is close-up pick 'em on a neutral. You giving me points at night at Tiger Stadium? And I know the odds makers will say, here's our point spread value. It might be 3, it might be 4, it might be 5. But it's still the same for every game. You and I and everybody else knows that's a totally different crowd on an afternoon against UCLA than at night against Alabama. So I think it's short. I think you get a lot of value with LSU. So I'm all over the Tigers.
Jimmy, who's bringing us Auto Locks?
Sorry, Charlie. Our buddy Clark Crane in Allstate Insurance. Clark Crane, again, they bundle it, man. Bundle your home and your auto for great rates. They're very aggressive in Louisiana right now. And I've been knowing Clark for a long, long time. He's a hard worker. He's there to answer the questions or anything, follow up with any type of questions you have if you are insured by him. Good buddy of mine, Clark Crane, insurance. Clark Crane from Allstate Insurance Agent Clark Crane. I can't remember, Musso. Don't take that ass whipping on an empty stomach, okay?
There you go. I co-sign, Otter. I co-sign.
All right, Jimmy, we'll see you for Football Sunday tomorrow morning at 10.
Yes, indeed. Good luck, guys.
Thanks a lot. All right, we will take a break. When we come back, we'll check in with Gordy Rush, the LSU Sports Network, and we'll see what he thinks about the differences between Alabama under Nick Saban and Alabama under Kalen DeBoer. That's next here from Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Get a free roof inspection by Garcia Roofing. GarciaDidMyRoof.com.
WDGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground.
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day Skull Session Offense. Presented by Gulf Coast Bank. Gulf Coast Bank, the bank that cares about you. Now from the LSU Sports Radio Network, here's Gordy Rush.
Bears countdown to kickoff about 4 hours and 40 minutes from right now here at Rouse's. We bring in Gordy Rush. Gordy, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, doing good. You?
Terrific, and a happy belated birthday from this week. We all chipped in to get you a cake, but something happened to it. So I don't know.
Lost in the mail.
Yeah, so somewhere it got lost. Gordy, when I sat down and started plowing through the numbers for this game, man, when I look at the SEC rushing numbers and I see that Alabama is the 14th rush defense in the league and LSU is the 16th rush offense in the league out of 16 teams, I think to myself, man, 2011, this will be nothing like that tonight. So let's talk about Alabama's defense and what Kalen DeBoer has tried to install here in year one.
Yeah, Cade Womack is the defensive coordinator. So the link, they coached together at Indiana back in 2019, and most recently he was the head coach at South Alabama. And by much different than Nick Saban and philosophy-wise, he's been a 4-2-5 guy. It's a 4-2-5 swarm. More of an athletic, attacking type of defense. Remember, Nick was multiple, but primarily a three-man front. And what really jumps out at you is that Alabama they're not three deep, and it's just not the size and the girth that you're used to seeing in that front seven. Don't get me wrong, they're very good football players, right? A lot of athletes. And I think he's tried to meet what they did last year halfway, and so they've been very much multiple. It's been a work in progress. What hasn't been a transition in this new age of college football? They had 39 kids leave the program last year for the draft or in the transfer portal. So new coordinator, new players, they're trying to get it right, and they've just been inconsistent. They've been able to get a lot of turnovers, but they've struggled to stop the run.
Gordy, I don't think there's a more surprising statistic to me. If you go back to August and all of the preseason stuff and all the talk about this team, if you'd have told me that going into the Alabama game, LSU would be last in the league in rushing, I'd have said there's absolutely no way. The bus must have got lost on the way to the stadium. But that's where it is. And I thought last game against Texas A&M was probably the worst the run game has looked. They were in a lot of second and long situations because of that. They lost Garrett Dellinger, which we'll talk about here, and his replacement, Paul Mubenga. But they just have not been able to get anything going. I thought this would improve as the season goes along, and it really hasn't.
Well, I think some of it is that because of Nussmeier, they faced a lot of people that are bringing seven, and people have been more aggressive than I think going into the game I thought they would be. I think that second point, LSU hadn't necessarily dealt with blocking the numbers in the run game. In the pass game, yes. In the run game, no. And so they struggled to do it, and it forced them to be more of a throwing football team. And I think some of it's also, Joe Sloan and Hankton's first year calling plays, and they're again, trying to figure it out. Two things that jumped out at me last week is that really not a lot of eye candy. I thought Nussmeier was a sitting target back there, and I think they've got to get more creative in just some of the runs other than just running the stretch zone and some of the basic players. One benefit, Kane Durham, who has not been 100%. I'm going to call it what it is since the Ole Miss football game. The last two games against Arkansas and Texas A&M, he played, but he came out. He had so much tape over shoes. It looked like he was in snow boots. Definitely he enjoys that week off. And then obviously I know you're going to ask me about Dellinger, but, what happens there at that guard position?
Well, what did you think of Mubenga when you saw him play at A&M? Because that injury occurred in the first half.
Well, I mean, obviously he has his struggles, would you expect, and but it was also a part of that LSU got one-dimensional, and A&M just started bringing numbers and a lot of zone blitz packages, and everybody on the offensive side of the ball had their pluses and minuses, and he was one of them. So, can you get him ready to start here in 2 weeks? We'll see.
How much autonomy does Garrett Nussmeier have at the line of scrimmage? You were talking about the numbers and some of the blitz packages that he was looking at against A&M. How much autonomy does he have up there?
Well, I think he's got – I think they're aligned, right? And so a lot of times, especially with many young quarterbacks as we see on the football field, it's 100% check with me, right? I think that what they're trying to do is with some movement, they're trying to get in the right play. I think they're trying to get into the right coverage or protection, I should say, because they want to throw the football. And so I think he has some. Other than last week in the second half, he's been pretty solid with his decision making. But I think they're aligned, and he knows what he's looking at, which is much more than I think I say for a lot of quarterbacks in the league right now. They're just young, and so he knows what he's looking at.
Gordy, tell me if I'm wrong here. I think there's two plays that LSU could hit that would shock Alabama right out of their crimson. One of them would be that if they hit a long ball to Chris Hilton, and they tried against A&M, they couldn't connect. But if they were to hit one, that would certainly, I think, shake things up in the secondary and cause them to have to respect that. And the other one would be if Garrett Nussmeier actually kept the football once. And it doesn't have to be a 50-yard run or anything, just a positive, first down run just to keep them honest. Am I likely to see either one of those things?
Yeah, well, you would hope in the zone read package. I mean, they finally had him run one, but it was 3 weeks ago when they were running out the clock at Arkansas, and it was the outcome was already in hand. I think he should run if you're going to run that zone read package, and they certainly like that. And I like, some of the reverses that they've been able to run off of this package. You would like to see it, and absolutely. I mean, going into the game, I'm a defensive coordinator, and everybody talks in this business. But Aaron Anderson has been LSU's best deep threat, and he's 5'8", and he's got some limitations on 50-50 balls, and so I think that's been a part of it. Is that one, we know that I'm a defense coordinator. I know Nussmeier isn't really going to run. He's kind of going to be somewhat of a sitting target back there. They're struggling to pick up the run. And if I play man, even if I'm not great at man, they don't have anybody that's going to take the top off my defense. So I can afford to get up there and battle a little bit and try to stop some of these intermediate routes. So it's absolutely, every game for LSU, the ability to back people up and stretch the field a little bit, whether it's Anderson or they can get Chris Hilton going. I think that's why so many people have been waiting to see him play. And I thought he did some good things 2 weeks ago at A&M.
Gordy, sticking with the receivers, C.J. Daniels obviously couldn't make it through the entire A&M game. He had the extra week to heal up. He's probably going to be out there. Why? Everyone's talked so much about how much he means to Nussmeier in this offense. Why is he so important to this offense?
Well, I think he's just mature and he understands separation. And, what's happened is that they've seen more man than I think expected. And because of that, older receivers know how to get off the line of scrimmage, especially with people playing press. They know how to get separation. He's a big-bodied kid. He understands the game. He's really mature. And Nussmeier's got to pick his matchup pre-snap, what he's looking for, and you want to trust that you've got somebody who can get some separation.
Before we go to break, we'll give you an update from Atlanta. Miami has 3 double-digit comebacks in the second half this year. They'll need a fourth. Georgia Tech leads 28-16, a little over 13 minutes to go in Atlanta. Undefeated Miami is in a fight. We'll keep you up to date on that. When we return, we'll flip sides of the ball, talk about the LSU defense against Alabama's offense here at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today.
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Skull Session. Defense. Presented by Edward Jones. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Now from the LSU Sports Radio Network, here's Gordy Rush.
Bears countdown to kickoff a little under 4.5 hours from right now here at Rouse's. Gordy, last year the difference in this game was Jalen Milroe and what he did on the ground. I thought it was a good comment by Brian Kelly when he was up at the board with Saban and the whole game day crew when they talked about that, and he talked about staying in lanes. So let's talk about staying in lanes and also keeping contain on Milroe, and then of course we'll get to whether or not they will employ the spy tonight on Milroe.
Well, I think that was what broke down last week, and I think the way that LSU has been so effective in stopping the run and where we've seen the improvement is a lot of it's been the defensive end play. The defensive ends have been fantastic, both Jones and Swinson, and their ability to slam. Slant in, and the problem with that when you get into some quarterbacks that are more mobile. That's great if you're going to roll dice and you're going to take that gap, but who's replacing you? And that was the problem 2 weeks ago in College Station. And I think they had a base defense in play, but I didn't practice against it, and certainly I didn't have the wrinkles to that, and just did a really poor job of adjusting when Reed came into the football game. That being said about Milroe, he's a bigger kid than Reed, and he's a more explosive, more athletic than Sellers, and no doubt I think that's the key. It's going to be run fits today. Being disciplined in your run fits, because he will test you. It's been interesting to see the way this offense has evolved. DeBoer's kind of, again, met him halfway with some of the stuff he ran up in Washington with Penix, but he still has a lot of zone read packages, and stopping Milroe is job number one.
So he had the monster game on the ground against Georgia. He was fantastic that night. 117 yards on the ground. But in the 4 games since then, he has not gotten to 117 yards combined. So what – in last week against – or, their last game against Missouri, they really didn't need all that much. Missouri was down some people, and Alabama controlled that game from start to finish. But the other games, Vandy, South Carolina, Tennessee – all were full 60-minute contests, and he didn't really run the ball all that well. What did you see?
Well, the big thing that jumps out at me, Charles, when I put on the film is that, again, going back to I think the transition to DeBoer, he's throwing the ball and staying from the pocket a lot of times in empty. And you're not seeing quite as much zone read stuff like we did a year ago. And, for him to get to the NFL, he needs to do that. And there's been some good from him throwing the football in the pocket. I think he has a nice passing rating. He's got 13 touchdowns, 6 picks. It's less impressive when you look at just SEC statistics. So I think the offense has changed a little bit. That also being said, they've got, 2 outstanding running backs, and it was Jam Miller and is it Harris, the other one. They're both averaging over 6 yards a game. That's something they didn't have a year ago. I mean, the running game was Milroe for the most part a year ago, and so they're much better balanced running the football. But again, it's been a transition more than anything. I think of DeBoer trying to run some of the stuff he ran at Washington and getting Milroe to adapt.
Ryan Williams, the fabulous freshman wide receiver, I said yesterday on the show, Gordy, he reminds me a tremendous amount of Lynn Swann, the great Steeler receiver. Yeah. And that, there may not be he may not go get 12 catches for, 140 yards, but the 4 catches he makes might be some of the most outlandish plays you've ever seen in your life. So what to do about him, and do you travel Zy Alexander from side to side with him?
Well, look, I think, the best comparison I can give to you with him is Brian Thomas Jr. in the sense of he's an ex-receiver. They're going to put him in on the edge of the football team. And the question becomes, it's real simple. Are you going to account for Milroe in the box and play some sort of spy? And if you do so, do that, you are more than likely going to be on an island. And are you going to travel Zy? Is Stamps ready for that? Because they're going to test it, and that's what they've done. I mean, the teams that have to adapt to you got to spy Milroe, especially when they go empty like that, and smart rush and do all the things necessary when you get a mobile quarterback. But that's the game that they play, and I think that's what they've been really, really effective. They're better. He was better than he was a year ago throwing the football. But really the stats and the big plays have come from the connections to Williams, and I agree with you. He's fantastic.
Special teams. We've been able to avoid this topic for a good portion of the season, but not now. You tell me what you saw in the last really 2 games from LSU and some of the special teams breakdowns and how that might go about getting fixed.
I thought Ramos hit one bad and the other 2 were on the operation, and that's between the years, right? And, and you hope that it's a one-time deal. But as I'm driving up and it's sprinkling here at Tiger Stadium and weather's going to be a factor, we'll see. To me, so much of that is you have people that have been in the program multiple years. It's a situation and going out there and being in the spotlight and being able to execute it. And hopefully they've kind of, had 100, 200 reps since Kyle Field, and we don't see those mistakes tonight.
All right, last thing is on the weather. If there is actual rain during the game, not just it being wet, how big of a damper on the LSU pass game? To me, if it's actually raining during the game, that benefits the other guys, but you tell me what you think.
I mean, we've said this for 20 years, as much as we say, like, the band is solid. If the field's wet and the balls are dry, it's an advantage LSU. If the balls are wet, then, that's probably not the ideal situation for you. So we'll keep an eye on the weather.
And that goes for the Lightning as well, because that is I'm just
Lightning doesn't help a passing game or a running game.
No,
it kind of shuts down all of offense when there's lightning.
Yeah, it means that we'll be there a long time. So let's hope that doesn't happen. All right, Gordy, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you after the game.
Okay, Charlie.
We're brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. Try the new parboiled rice. It's about the closest thing you're going to get to restaurant quality rice. Parboiled rice now available here at Rouse's and wherever you buy rice, in addition to the brown, long grain, medium grain, and the jasmine rice. Louisiana farmers down in Crowley in southwest Louisiana since the 1930s have been producing Supreme Rice. You're going to get more for your money. You're going to keep your dollars here in state. And they're part of the Climate Smart program that ensures future generations of Louisiana farmers will get to enjoy those same benefits. So pick up Supreme Rice for more. And, of course, we got a couple more games of tailgating. It's great for gumbos, for etouffees, for stews, things like that, red beans and white beans. And we've got the holidays coming up, so cook with Supreme Rice. For more information and great recipes, go to SupremeRice.com. Under 9 minutes now, Georgia Tech leads 28-16 on undefeated Miami. Could we lose one more team that has a 0 in the loss column? We'll keep you up to date on that. But recruiting with Shea Dixon is next. It's a monster weekend for the Tigers in that regard. We'll do that next here at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-126-81. Offices in Baton Rouge. WDGL and HD1 Baton Rouge. Eagle 98.1.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
The best kept secret in
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Recruiting with Shea Dixon of On3 Sports. Presented by Ralph's Market. Ralph's Market, where quality and customer service are a family tradition.
kickoff, about 4 hours and 15 minutes. We bring in Shea Dixon from On 3. Shea, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Charlie. How are you?
I'm just going to ask your opinion on something, just kind of ballpark this thing for me. In the last 10 years, have there been more future all-conference, all-American, NFL players on the sidelines being recruited in any other game than LSU and Alabama?
No, home or away. They stack it out. This is also don't let the Alabama-Auburn rivalry fool you. When LSU comes to town, they bring in a ton of recruits for that one too. So, yes, I look at just LSU's commit list, Charlie. I firmly believe they have 27 commits, that 3 or 4 of them probably will be first-rounders. A couple of them might be top 5 picks. I mean, this is a program-changing class, let alone what they're working towards next year.
And how many of the players that'll be on the sideline tonight, not just this year, but in the coming years, are being recruited by both of these teams? Like, that both teams are seriously in the hunt. I know some kids like to come take a vacation, but how many are they're seriously these two schools?
It's really funny. We've talked about this before, and I think we'll have to see if this is DeBoer or not, but not many. And that's not the case normally. It's like, oh, my gosh, you got so-and-so to the game. That's huge because he's leaning to Bama, or it's Bama or LSU. And that's not really been the case. I mean, I think you look right now, uncommitted-wise, even committed. We're hearing all the push for Bryce Underwood with Michigan. Well, he's on his official visit with his family. He's confirmed he's now in Baton Rouge on campus with everybody. So good news there, but that's Michigan. And then you look at Jakeem Stewart, who is on his official visit, reclassified. He has 4 teams. Alabama's not one of them. And then even DeCorian Moore, who one-time LSU commit. He's the best receiver in the country. It's not close. 5-star across the board, one-time LSU commit. He's on campus today. He's committed to Oregon, and they flipped a lot of Texas guys. It's just oddly not been many LSU-Bama matchups in the post-Saban era, not yet at least.
Okay, let's talk about Underwood. When Michigan's lone quarterback commitment decommitted, was it 2 weeks ago, I believe? That got a lot of people nervous. Is there reason, and we know Michigan's going to recruit him all the way to the end, but is there reason to be nervous on Underwood?
I think you always hold a little nerve when it's the number 1 overall prospect in the country, and he's from, 30 minutes outside of Ann Arbor at the same time. He still hasn't visited Michigan since Sharon Moore became head coach. He hasn't visited any other school in a recruiting capacity since he committed to LSU in January. That's more than 300 days ago. And with an official visit weekend, Charlie, where you bring in not just mom, dad, sister, but extended family, I think that all those conversations, whether it's Michigan's NIL push or any final things that come down to, living arrangements and classes, everything gets ironed out on these official visit weekends close to signing day. So I think that by the time they leave on Monday, that we'll have a good feel for, hey, look, LSU feels even better about where things stand with Bryce Underwood.
I got a friend of mine who sometimes when calls doesn't even bother to say hello, just jumps right into recruiting on days like today. So today I got this phone call. He's like, I said, hello, DJ Pickett, we good? I said, okay, I don't know, I'll ask Shea. Okay, Shea, DJ Pickett, we good?
I think so. Look, and again, in an NIL world, he picked LSU over over Miami and Oregon. Those are 2 of the schools that have been out there kind of like, hey, look, we've got deep pockets. We'll play the NIL game, and from head coaches to boosters, and LSU beats them out, beats them both for DJ Pickett. I think that Pickett wants to play for Corey Raymond. I think that Pickett is one of the 2 guys alongside Underwood that I think will be a top 5 pick, and he's ranked there right now. He is an electric DB, a corner, 6'4", who, while Miami, and gosh, you can give me a score update, but while they've had a very good season.
They're down 12. They're down 12 with 7 minutes to go.
So there was some rhetoric out there that, hey, if Miami has a good season, would that sway him? And look, his cousin goes to Miami. He was a top 100 player last year. His other cousin, Cannon, is actually with him, but the younger brother of the player at Miami is with him today on the visit. And Cannon said, hey, look, DJ recruits me to LSU. And Nunn kind of just says, hey, look, I get if you want to go play with your brother, but LSU's here. He's an O-lineman. But all the signs have pointed towards LSU, and he's back. He'll be back again for OU, and then he'll sign like a week after that. So, in fact, I saw he shared some photos of senior night last night with his parents, and they had their purple and gold on. He had his LSU cleats and gloves all on after the game. So I think everything's still pointing in the right direction there.
Any chance of flipping more?
Oh, man. Yeah, I guess he's been committed before, so maybe. But I think it's good that you get him back on campus, right on a weekend like this where Underwood's there, and every commit you've got, Harlan Berry and all those guys are all there, JT Lindsey, everybody that he would be around on offense is going to be there, the O-linemen. So I think it's a great atmosphere, all of that. I still just am so baffled by his recruitment, Charlie. This is a kid who was committed to LSU, shockingly, because everyone thought he would go to Texas. That's where all of his family lives, kind of outside Austin, a lot of them at least, and his mom kind of pushed for it. And he said, nope, I'm going to LSU, and then he backed off that, and everyone said, all right, well, here, mom wins out, and then it's, nope, I'm going to Oregon. Okay, all right, even further away. So now this LSU visit, it's not nothing. If you're not interested, you don't drive over just for a game. It's a little bit deeper than that here, given it was a one-time commit. But I think at the same time, you kind of just want to see how it goes, and obviously there'll be NIL discussions and all that. There is no doubt. I mean, we look around at Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith. That's DeCorey Moore. He is by far the best receiver in the country, and LSU would be foolish not to recruit him all the way until the end. And this is what these coaches will tell you all the time, Charlie, not because of, we could get him, which is point number one, but two, if he ever hits the portal, the phone numbers he's going to answer first are the coaches who he dealt with a lot in recruiting. And that's why when a kid commits, you don't just stop calling them.
I wonder how many on National Signing Day when coaches around the country are, having their exit meeting and they'll say, well, how many of these guys will get the second time we recruit them? That's just it's the current landscape, right?
It's called for college football media recruiting reporters like myself. We call it National Unfollow Day, where the kids who don't go to your school, you get to unfollow them. And I joked with some coaches about it, and they said, yeah, we kind of went last year, and you hover over unfollow, and then you say, you know what, I'm going to let that one be. I'm going to keep that one open, keep following him just in case he hits the portal. So, it is an odd thing nowadays that where recruiting and what it means at the high school level, not just for if you get them, but if you don't, do they pop back up later on?
Shay, you said there are 4 schools really in play for Stewart. Name them, and if you feel comfortable, put them in order.
I don't even know if Jakeem knows the order, so I could feel comfortable saying it and wouldn't be wrong because I don't think he knows. But Oregon and Ohio State visits are in the books. LSU this weekend, he arrived on Friday night, and then Southern Cal next week, and I'll put Southern Cal last on this list. I've had Ohio State LSU as the top 2. My pick's been in on LSU. That was from when he was in the 2026 class. Now he's reclassified. So I'll kind of monitor things over these final 4 weeks and then decide where I'm keeping or shifting my pick. But I've always thought it was LSU or Ohio State. But at the same time, I'm not going to count out Oregon. Dan Lanning's a really great recruiter. They put together a good class, and they're playing winning football right now. So I think that he's probably, Charlie, mulling over all these options as these teams kind of had to cram their final push or their big push into a 2-month stretch as opposed to a year and 2 months prior to his reclassification.
Shay, a couple things. Number one, any other uncommitted players maybe keep an eye on this weekend besides Stewart, whether it's 25 or 26? And then after big games like this, normally you can see a guy pop. Anyone to maybe keep an eye on there?
I always keep an eye on in-state kids for the future on days like today where a kid has an offer and they have double-digit offers out to next year's class. And, maybe he pops and is a guy who was going to end up at LSU all along. So says, hey, let's go ahead and just knock it out, get some momentum rolling. I'll be done with recruiting. So I wouldn't rule that out, especially if they win and have a big weekend. But I would look at uncommitted-wise. They have 27 commits. So Brian Kelly said the goal is 25 to 30. You're right there. If you get Jakeem Stewart, that's 28. If somehow, some way, God shines his light upon the Tigers and DeCorey Moore decides he wants in, you're at 29. So not many guys out there still left, I don't think, unless you're flipping them uncommitted-wise. But when you look at next year, guys, Lamar Brown, Blaine Bradford, these guys who are in Louisiana and ranked as top 10 players nationally, number one players at their position type guys, will be on campus today, as well as some kids from border states, East Texas, South Mississippi. Both states are sending number one overall prospects at a number of positions in for this game. So it'll be the sidelines are always jam-packed. This one, I get the feeling, will be kind of a little more shoulder-to-shoulder than normal.
Shay, last thing. I ask you this every time there's a game of this magnitude, so I know exactly what you're going to say, but I want you to say it for the audience or people that haven't heard you answer this question before. In a game of this magnitude, in regards to recruiting, how much does it matter who wins tonight?
There you go, the caveat at the end, it doesn't. I don't think either of these teams are going to falter in recruiting because they lost, and neither will take some gigantic leap forward because they won. These are the number 2 and 3 classes in the country right now. So they've lost to Vandy. LSU's lost heartbreakers already at A&M, and we didn't see some wave of decommitments or disinterest. So it doesn't matter. I'll tell you what does matter, though, Charlie. Kids do remember environment, and a lot of kids will tell you, hey, look, I remember on my visit, this happened or this game, and we saw it at Ole Miss. And if it's that kind of environment tonight and they pull off a win and it's anything like the dramatics of a couple of years ago, many kids reference that night and what the experience was like, and wasn't the reason they committed to LSU, but really kind of added to the list of, hey, this is where I need to be or where I want to be. So it doesn't matter who wins or loses for a recruit. They don't care, I promise you, especially if you're a good football team year over year. But I think the environment certainly is what they're going to sell.
See, Musa, I'll tell you what he was going to say.
Yeah,
I know what he was going to say. I've been doing this with him long
But
enough.
if they do win, I'll take credit for, if they did anything, if they did it because
Go ahead. Yeah, I know it doesn't matter, but go ahead and win anyway.
It wouldn't hurt, right?
Yeah, please. What's coming up after the game on 3?
Cross your fingers, and a lot of recruits react. If they win, the recruit reaction stories are always a lot more read and exciting for fans to get to. So that's our plan. And I'll tell you what, Charlie, about midway through that Ole Miss game, in the work group text, we're like, all right, guys, we may not have a recruit react. Let's come up with some other stories. And then we were frantically in the fourth quarter, like, uh-oh, here we go. So don't count it out. We've got one ready, and we'll have kind of reactions from everybody who's there.
Enjoy the game, Shay. Miami has pulled within 5. They're under 4 minutes to go now, and Georgia Tech's got the ball, so we'll watch the end of that one. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week when the Tigers travel to Gainesville.
Thanks so much, guys.
And we will take a break here at Rouse's. Come on in for all of your tailgating supplies. Get all the ice that you'll ever need, wine, beer, all of your spirits, your meats, your breads, all of your supplies on the right side, your utensils and your plates and your garbage bags and soft drinks. You need it, you can get it here at Rouse's. We're just a couple of miles off campus, Burbank and Lee. Full Scoreboard is next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The best kept secret in town.
98.1.
The Alumni Hall College Football Scoreboard. Alumni Hall, your ultimate Tigers shopping destination.
We start in Atlanta, where Georgia Tech holds a 28-23 lead at the 2-minute warning. They are facing 4th and 3 at their own 40. So you figure a punt here after the 2-minute warning, and Cam Ward will have just under 2 minutes to engineer a game-winning drive. He's thrown for 348 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. Might, if you're talking about a Heisman favorite here right now, if he's a game-winning drive would add to the resume. Georgia Tech has run for 275 yards today. They've used 2 quarterbacks. Haynes King has played, but the story for Georgia Tech on offense has been the run game.
Saw a note that's the most rushing yards Miami's given up since 2020 when they gave up over 500 to UNC.
And I'm just guessing that night that was a COVID year. You're probably talking about
10 people out there.
They're losing 15 guys on defense. So we'll keep you up to date on that when they come out of the 2-minute. Rutgers leading Minnesota 26-16. They're under 2 minutes to go in Piscataway. Liberty leads Middle Tennessee 30-7. UAB over UConn 13-3. That's in the second quarter. And a couple of first quarter scores. Marshall leads Southern Miss 3-0. And Georgia State and James Madison are scoreless. Texas leads Florida 49-17. The freshman Aiden Warner had to start at quarterback for Florida. They're down their top 2 signal callers. The freshman is just overmatched today. He threw a couple of interceptions. Florida also lost a fumble. They did get a little offense going in the second half against some of the Texas backups, but this has been all Longhorns today. Quinn Ewers threw for 333 yards and 5 touchdowns for the Longhorns. Earlier finals today, Navy moves to 7-2 on the season. They beat South Florida 28-7. Number 2, Ohio State, no problem with Purdue. 45-0 was the final there. Will Howard threw 3 touchdown passes for the Buckeyes. Boston College beat Syracuse 37-31. Nice road win for West Virginia. They're piling those up. 31-24 at Cincinnati. Mountaineers have won their last 3 road games. And Texas State beat UL Monroe 38-17. Okay, in the 2:30 window, a game starting right now. Georgia and Ole Miss. It's not raining up there right now, but it's ominous skies. There could be some rain in that game, just like in this game. For Ole Miss, they've got no room for error. Georgia still looks like the best team in the conference. When they are right, will they be right in this game? Michigan is at number 8, Indiana. Hoosiers trying to go to 10-0 for the first time in school history. Number 17, Iowa State tries to bounce back from their only loss of the season last week. They are at 2-6. Kansas is 2-6. So how many games that they have lost have they had the lead in the fourth quarter?
All 6, right?
All of them.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it's all of them.
They're deceiving 2 and 6.
Best 2 and 6 team in the country?
If you say so. Number 23, Clemson, is at Virginia Tech. They also suffered a really tough loss a week ago. They would have been kind of in the driver's seat in the ACC. Now that's a jumbled mess. Number 25, Army, is at North Texas. We do believe that the quarterback, Bryson Daly, will start the game for Army. We'll see if he is limited in any way. Duke is at NC State. San Jose State's at Oregon State. Number 20, Colorado, is at Texas Tech. It's a real interesting game because if Colorado wins here, they're favored on the road here, but I think this is their trickiest game left. Lubbock's not an easy place to play.
It's not.
And Texas Tech's not a bad team, but if they win here, they are very, very much in the conversation for the Big 12 championship game. Deion's team's got a chance to get into the playoff. They really do.
They do, and it's honestly been a great coaching job so far because, I mean, they're still weak up front, especially on the offensive line, but it hadn't really mattered. Shedeur Sanders has made all the difference.
Kennesaw State is at UTEP. Also at 3 o'clock, Temple is at Yeoman Stadium to take on Tulane. Wave remain unbeaten in the American at 5-0. 3:15 on the SEC Network for South Carolina and Vandy. South Carolina coming off the big win against Texas A&M last week, and we think Diego Pavia is fine. But we don't really know. This line has done some goofy things in the last 24 hours. Clark Lee said only that there's some wear and tear on Pavia. He plays the game about as physical as you can play the quarterback position. He's not the biggest guy. We'll see if Vandy can corral South Carolina today. 3:30 kickoff for Jacksonville State and Louisiana Tech. 4 o'clock kickoff for Arkansas State and UL Lafayette. Raging Cajuns are still unbeaten in the Sun Belt at 4-0. 5 o'clock kickoff for Western Kentucky, New Mexico State. 6 o'clock kickoff for Maryland at number 1 Oregon. Musso is gesturing wildly. It looks like Georgia Tech has. Is that a fumble?
It was. Cam Moore was scrambling. Guy came from behind, knocked the ball out. Georgia Tech's got it. Miami's got 2 timeouts, but man, you're inside the 15 there for
minute 36 to go. 2 timeouts for Miami, and we'll check the line of scrimmage there. It's definitely in the red zone. We'll get that for you after they unpile all of this. But Georgia Tech could knock Miami from the ranks of the unbeaten here. They are on the verge. Oh, now where was I? Yes, Big Ten Network, Maryland and Oregon. First 2 schools I think of when I think of the Big Ten is Maryland and Oregon. 6 o'clock kickoff also for Mississippi State at number 7 Tennessee. Bulldogs still looking for their first conference win. 6 o'clock kickoff for UCF at Arizona State. They're honoring Pat Tillman tonight. It would be an emotional scene at Mountain America Stadium in Tempe. 6 o'clock kickoff for Oklahoma State at TCU. 6:30 kickoff on NBC for Florida State at number 10 Notre Dame. I don't think at the beginning of the season this is what NBC had in mind.
No, it's not. It's not.
Primetime spot. Florida State is 1-8. 6:45 kickoff for Oklahoma at number 24 Missouri. Game time decision on both Brady Cook and Nerlens Noel. No, not Nerlens Noel.
Nate Noel.
Nerlens Noel is the basketball player.
Yes.
Nate Noel. They're starting running back. Game time decision on both. 7 o'clock kickoff on Peacock, which means I won't watch it. Washington is at number 6 Penn State. Penn State trying to come back from their first loss of the season. Nevada is at number 12 Boise State. Virginia is at number 18 Pittsburgh. 8 o'clock kickoff for UNLV at Hawaii. And an 8:45 kickoff for Fresno State and Air Force. 9:15 on ESPN. Number 9 BYU tries to stay unbeaten. They go to Salt Lake City to take on 4-4 Utah. And 9:30 kickoff the final game of the night on the CW, Utah State at number 21 Washington. Yeah, because by the time we finish postgame, it'll be the only thing on.
That's true. That's a fair point.
It will be out there. Texas is kneeling out on Florida, which means that Georgia and Ole Miss can go ahead and get started here in a moment. And Miami's taking their first time out after a 2-yard gain for Georgia Tech. Minute 32 here. Play along, Musso. They're at the 15-yard line. Georgia Tech runs something here. They pick up 2 more yards and take another 4 seconds off the clock or so. There's the handoff. There's the, well, he didn't even make 2 yards. Let's give him a half a yard. 4 seconds off the clock. See, I've done this before. And they're going to take the timeout. Now, you run another play, gets you down, and you're going to run the ball again. That takes you down. Probably reset the play clock at somewhere around 124.
Yeah.
So you're going to take off 24 and 16, get down to 44 seconds. You call timeout. You kick the field goal to put you up 31-23. and then by the time you kick it off, let's say you get no return there, Ward will have about 40 seconds, I would say, somewhere between 35 and 40 seconds to go down the field, touchdown, 2-point conversion to get it to overtime. How much of that do you I just said do you think is going to actually happen?
It's not likely, but I will point out that Miami went for 2 earlier in this game with 3 minutes left in the third quarter, which is just really aggressive. I mean,
aggressive or reckless?
Reckless. But I'm of the opinion, Handy, you never go for 2 until you absolutely have to go for 2.
And that used to be how I thought too, and it's actually still how I think for the most part. But fewer and fewer coaches think that.
Yeah,
right
I know.
now.
They hate field goals too.
Field goals are worthless.
They're
worth 0 points. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl will break down the best players from Alabama. That is next here at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Brandon Hawley here. Wood windows with a lifetime guarantee? ReliefWindows.com.
Eagle 98.1 WTGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
98.1.
Welcome back in. Eagle 98.1 Game Day live from the Rouses on Burbank and Lee. LSU, Alabama, hours away, Saturday night in Death Valley. Let's take a closer look at the Crimson Tide. Welcome in Jim Nagy, the executive director from the Reese's Senior Bowl, for our scouting report. Jim, we appreciate it as always. Welcome back for another week.
Yeah, Matt, big one tonight, huh?
Big one tonight. It's become arguably the premier game in college football just about every year with LSU and Alabama, not just because of
playoff implications or SEC championship implications, but a lot of it is the talent that's on the field, and that's what we're here to talk about, and there's no shortage. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. We'll start with Jalen Milroe, because after what happened to LSU in the second half against Marcel Reed in College Station, there's been questions abound about the Tigers defense stepping up against a running quarterback, and really the best running quarterback in the SEC. Let's start with Milroe's ability with his legs, and then I want to get into maybe a little bit in the passing game. But first, Milroe's ability with the legs.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, you're right. I mean, this game, it's probably fallen off a little bit from where it was a few years ago, but this was the game that every NFL scout had circled every year. I used to go to this game every single year. It had the most NFL talent of any game, year in and year out. I don't think either of these rosters are what they were, back sometime within the last decade, but it seems like a little bit ago. But no, Milroe, I mean, to me, the biggest thing with him running the football is when he's decisive with it or not. When he pulls it down and he's decisive and he's ready to go, he's got rare speed. And I'll share a quick story. I'll try to be quick with you. I was on the field for the Texas A&M game a couple years ago, and a bunch of scouts were on the field, and they were in the building in Tuscaloosa the day before. And I just asked them about Jahmyr Gibbs. It was when Jahmyr Gibbs was coming out. And I said, what were they saying about Gibbs? And they're like, well, he's the second fastest guy on the team and this and that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, who's the fastest then? And they're like, the backup quarterback, Milroe. So, we're talking about a guy, and we know Jahmyr Gibbs ran in the low 4.3s. So, I mean, this guy has rare speed at the quarterback position. He doesn't always show it because he's, sometimes indecisive, as a scrambler, but when he wants to go, he'll be able to run away from anyone on LSU's defense, which I'm sure is keeping that coaching staff up all week at night.
So then there's the passing game with Milroe, and that's always kind of been the point that's under the microscope with him, right? Ryan Williams has obviously helped. That he's incredible out at the wide receiver position, but have you seen a jump in a new offensive system now, not Tommy Rees, now with Kalen DeBoer, in the passing game from Jalen Milroe?
Yeah, I did early. It's been a little spotty, but at the beginning of the year, you saw a lot better anticipation out of Jalen than you saw a year ago. I mean, that was kind of the thing, and this is typical for a lot of first-year starters, which Jalen was last year. I like to call them clear picture throwers. I mean, he really needed to see receivers break open before he let go of the football. And, early in the year, watching some of that early tape, like the Wisconsin game stands out. I mean, the ball was leaving his hand before the receivers were out of their break, which is where you want it to be, right? Mm-hmm. In a timing-based passing system. And so it was looking like trending in the right direction. And then since then, it's been a little spotty. So I do feel like he's made some strides since last year. But in terms of the overall evaluation, where NFL guys are going to want to watch Jalen this next month, is to see if he can kind of regain that, because it's been a little spotty about the past month. The month of October was a little spotty when they started to play better people.
Let's move to one of the guys protecting him up front on the offensive line. That's Tyler Booker, offensive guard, veteran guy, played a lot of football, obviously. And look, everyone always talk about the defensive players for Alabama under Nick Saban, but they had some pretty darn good offensive lines under Coach Saban as well in his time there. What stands out about Tyler Booker, a guy who is eligible for the draft right now as a junior?
Yeah, and he's going to leave. He's going to graduate. He's going to leave early. He's got right now, if there were such thing as betting lines on which these players would be drafted first at their positions, I think Booker's probably the odds-on favorite to be the top guard. Take in him or a kid Donovan Jackson at Ohio State, who would probably be the top two guys. But yeah, big, powerful guy, bouncy, pretty similar to a lot of the guys that LSU's had over the years in terms of body type, and he's just a big human being. What makes him a little different is he's just so agile for a big guy. So he's powerful. He can move you off the ball. I mean, that's going to be when they need to get yards, tough yards in the run game. That's who they should run behind. I mean, this guy he's good, and what makes him different than a lot of big guys his size is he's got pretty good mobility too, getting up on linebackers. So he's going to go early in the draft. Somebody's going to draft that guy to be lining up next year on Sundays.
A lot has been made about Ryan Williams, and for good reason. He's, like we said earlier, he's incredible. But behind him, Alabama's kind of been searching for something else. Obviously, Bernard started to emerge a little bit in the last 2 weeks. But C.J. Dippre at tight end, it has been a bit of a safety blanket, maybe you would say, for Jalen Milroe. He's the third leading receiver on this Alabama team. What stands out about his game? Excuse me.
Well, you're right about Ryan Williams. He's from here in Mobile. I've been watching that kid play the last few years in high school, and the crazy thing is he should be at Saraland High School right now playing. He enrolled early. Yeah, C.J. Diprey's he's a Maryland transfer. I think they should go to him more. I think they haven't. I mean, the production is, like you said, third on the team, but I think they could get even more out of this guy. I think he's going to be a mid-round draft pick. He's going to be playing on Sundays as well. I think he's more of like a number 2, number 3 tight end in the league, but a good player, and he can block. I think where the NFL is going to like this guy is that he can put his hand in the ground and put his face on you and get you blocked. A lot of college tight ends can't do that. And he's better in the pass game than you think. When they throw it to him, he can make some plays down the middle of the field. They just haven't used him enough. So that will be a key. I mean, if I'm Alabama, I'm trying to get this guy matched on the linebackers and see if he can make some plays.
Talking with Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. He's on Twitter at @JimNagy_SB. You can follow the Senior Bowl on Twitter X at Senior Bowl as well. Let's flip sides of the ball, Jim, and get over to that Alabama defense. We'll start in the middle at the linebacker spot, the green dot. That's Deontay Lawson, and he has been a stalwart here for Alabama.
Yeah, Deontay's another guy that been watching play for a long time. He's another Mobile native. Yeah, played a lot of football. They've had a lot of good off-the-ball linebackers at Alabama over the years. He's kind of the next one in line. He's a captain, which is a big deal there. He's only a junior. He's got another year of eligibility left. I think it'll be really interesting to see if he enters the draft. Right now, I think Deontay would be like a third or fourth round pick if he came out this year. But he can do enough in coverage to stay on the field, which is important. So he's kind of a true three-down linebacker. And, he'll be the guy when LSU leaks running backs out of the backfield, that's going to be the guy picking them up.
And a little bit of his teammate over there as well. We got two linebackers to go through here. Jahad Campbell, Lawson and Campbell, they're 1-2 on the team in tackles. They've wreaked a lot of havoc. How maybe does Campbell's game differ than Lawson, or are they similar players?
Yeah, Jahad Campbell is he's kind of like your throwback Alabama linebacker. He's a big man. He kind of reminds me size-wise of and frame of Dante Hightower, a really good player they had, about a decade ago, had a really, really awesome NFL career at the Patriots. And the one thing this Alabama team lacks right now that they haven't lacked in about 15 or 20 years, they don't have like a premier edge rusher on this football team right now. They do not get home enough defensively, but that's where Campbell is different than Lawson, is that whereas Lawson's going to be the coverage guy, and Campbell can do that. Campbell, for a big guy, can really move in space, but he's a guy that they like to bring off the edge on third down. I mean, if they're going to generate some pressure out there, it's usually Jahad Campbell. So which is unique for an off-the-ball linebacker to get up on the line of scrimmage and rush. And he's a big dude. I mean, this is a big, like 6'4", 250-pound guy. So, kind of what Alabama was built on at linebacker, like those guys, like I said, like a Hightower. I mean, this is the newest version of that guy.
Dante Hightower. But that name brings back memories. Not all those very fond memories either, to be quite honest. But correct. I mean, Campbell, 2.5 sacks, is second on the team for Alabama. Flipping to the secondary, and Jim, in looking and watching Alabama a good bit, if I had one word to kind of describe the defense, it'd be opportunistic. They forced a lot of turnovers. And one of the guys creating a lot of that havoc is Malachi Moore. And when you saw, Caleb Downs leave and Trey almost leave, you look at the Alabama secondary, and it's Malachi Moore out there, and he hasn't disappointed. What is it about his game that just makes him seem like such a complete player?
Yeah, it's his instincts. He's similar to Brian Branch in that way. Brian Branch is off to a really good start to his NFL career. I think athletically, Malachi's not quite where Brian Branch was, but this guy, you talk about playing a lot of football for Alabama. This guy's lined up from the day he got to Tuscaloosa and made plays for this football team. So he's a cool player for the next level because he can play nickel corner, and then he can also go back and play safety, which is really why they got him back this year. We invited him to last year's Senior Bowl, and they talked him into come back here. We'll play you more full-time at safety to show the NFL that you have that skill set. So, most instinctive players, no matter where you line those guys up, they figure out a way to find the football and make plays. And that's Malachi Moore. Like you said, you mentioned the turnovers. He'll be a key player. I think, coming off the game with Garrett Nussmeier and throwing those interceptions against Texas A&M, that's going to be a key for Alabama. They're going to have to turn the ball over to stay in that game, in that environment, and take the crowd out of it and everything. And usually when they're making plays over there, Malachi Moore's in the middle of it.
He is Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, with us every week here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day, scouting the competition. Jim, we appreciate the time as always for another week. Enjoy the football today, and we'll talk again for Florida.
Yeah, Matt, enjoy this one tonight. It'll be fun.
Absolutely. It's always fun when these two teams get together and do battle. We're going to grab a break, come back with more from the Rouses on Burbank and Lee. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our focus.
98.1. 98.1 Game Day. After Further Review on Game Day. After Further Review is heard weekday afternoons at 3 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from AFR, here's Matt Moscona.
About the 3.5 hours, a little 3.5 hours here in Tiger Stadium. Before we bring Matt in, let's give you an update from Oxford. There's no other word to put to describe it than disaster for Ole Miss in the first 4.5 minutes. They got the ball, came out, they ran 3 plays. 2 of them were Jackson Dart running into about a 350-pound lineman. The third one, he got hit. He threw an interception. It said Georgia up at the 21-yard line. Dart went to the injury the injury tent and came out of it on his way to the locker room with a heavy limp. Georgia punches it in from the 21-yard line. They needed to get to 4th down and 2 to get it, but they are up 7-0, and Jackson Dart, heavy limp into the locker room. So it has been a disastrous 4.5 minutes to open the game for Ole Miss. All right, let's bring in Matt Moscona. Matt, good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, you just hate to see it for Ole Miss, Charlie. Walker Howard era begins, I guess, yeah?
Is he the backup?
I'm not sure, actually.
I don't know.
Earlier in the year, I think it
Intrigue.
was one of those or things, on the
On the depth chart,
him
yeah.
or the other kid. We're gonna find out here real shortly though, because Jackson Dart did not look good.
Yeah, boy, so you just hate to see it. You feel really bad for all those people in Oxford. They got really excited for a big game. Who in the world would pick Ole Miss? Oh wait, everybody on our staff did except for me. Crazy.
Yeah, y'all don't let me play, so I didn't actually.
Hey man, talk to Marler. I'm all happy with you playing the game.
I wanted to know how many new friendships you have made with the folks over in Alabama since, say, I don't know, January, whatever it was, because it does seem like you've picked up some new correspondence in the last 11 months.
Well, it's just too easy. It's like they're too stupid to understand. If they would just ignore me, then I'd stop. But every time I do Bama is burning and point out their misfortune, they come right to me first. If they win a game, they don't go celebrate with their own. They come to me. When they lose, they avoid me because they know I'm coming after them. But that's just the thing with that fan base, man. They don't like being told anything other than they're the greatest ever, and they don't like any sort of deference to their authority. And so, I have really enjoyed just jabbing them in the eye. And I'll continue to do it regardless of the outcome of tonight's game and every opportunity I have for the rest of time.
I'm glad you picked up the torch because, frankly, I was getting tired of doing it by myself.
Getting a heavy load there,
exactly.
heavy load to bear.
Appreciate all of the assistance,
The difference is I'm not the one that says the league benefits Bama and all this stuff. I was just very respectful of the fact that Nick Saban's the greatest coach ever, and they deserved every benefit of the doubt because they had the greatest coach ever and they always had the best team. They earned the benefit of the doubt. The second he left, boom, that's gone. I mean, they are done being perpetually elite. They are. They're just going to be like, they're going to be good. They might win tonight, but they're just going to be like everybody else.
Well, my dislike, and I didn't have that was one of the misconceptions. I have a burning dislike for Saban. I don't. I covered the guy every day for 5 years. Okay, I was if Nick Saban, I don't know how many press conferences he did here, but I don't think I missed more than 2 in the entire time. So my problem was never with him, and my conception of the biases that the league have far predate Saban. This goes back way longer than that. So I never had a problem with it. I didn't like the fact that he was beating LSU's brains in every year, but I never had a problem with and I said it was in every one of those press conferences. I knew Nick pretty well by the time he left here.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get to tonight's game and what LSU does. Let's start with what they do with Jalen Milroe because he was the difference in this game a year ago.
I think that what they do with Jalen Milroe is exactly what, 7 other teams have done against Jalen Milroe this year, which is corral him and make him throw the football because he's not very good at doing that. Georgia, and honestly, we talk about Georgia, that was only the first half. In the second half of that game, Alabama ran for 16 yards as a team. So everybody else, he ran for 2 yards against South Florida. Against Vanderbilt, he ran for 7. Like, everybody else has managed to do it. I think Blake Baker's a smart guy, and I think he has good players. At least as good of players as Vanderbilt and South Florida. If they were able to do it, LSU should be able to do it Saturday night on their home field. So I'm not an X and O guy. I heard, the skull session earlier with Gordy. He'd be much better to tell you how to break that down and ends crashing in. The bottom line is you contain Jalen Milroe, you make him throw the football, and he's not very good at doing that.
Update from Oxford. I'm sorry, not Anthony Simmons. Austin Simmons in at quarterback for Ole Miss.
Doggone it.
So they just got the football back. Okay, on the other side, Garrett Nussmeier has had a very big year, but the second half against Texas A&M, probably the worst 30 minutes of football that he's put together. In this game, Scone, what I hate to say what gets him going, but is he the whole key to this thing tonight? Because LSU hasn't been able to conjure up much of a running game.
So here's my stance on the running game. So objectively, when you've played 8 games and you're 111th in the country in rush offense, we can say you're not very good at running the football. And I understand all the things. Well, sometimes it's a stacked box, and some guys miss assignments, and sometimes a back doesn't break a tackle. All the things Brian Kelly said. Whatever, there's a large enough sample, you're not good at doing it. Here's the other part of this, which is also objectively true. LSU has faced 4 defenses that are in the top 20 nationally in rush defense. One of those is actually UCLA, believe it or not. So while LSU's not good, they've also faced good rush defenses. Tonight, by far, is the worst rush defense. It's weird to say about Alabama. I heard you guys talking earlier. It's so weird. Alabama can't stop. They're 14th against the run in the league, and LSU's dead last in running. This is bad on bad. Alabama's 68th in the country against the run. By far the worst rush defense you will have faced this year. I don't know, Charlie, that they're going to go tonight and run the ball 37 times for 217 or even 27 times for 117. But you should be able to stay ahead of the sticks tonight running the football, because that's not Ashawn Robinson and Jerron Reed and Marcel Darius and all of those guys, Quinnen Williams. That ain't them. LT Overton's a good player, the transfer from A&M. I don't know if there's anybody else in the Alabama defensive line that'll look at and go, man, that dude is a problem. So, again, I don't think LSU is going to go crush it running the ball tonight, but I think they're going to be far more competent tonight than we've seen.
I'd feel a lot better if Dellinger were in the starting lineup, but it is what it is. Dart, by the way, has come out of the locker room walking a whole lot better, and Ole Miss has actually got a drive now going with Simmons inside the 30-yard line. How would you rate the job that Kalen DeBoer has done in year one?
It depends on the standard. It all depends on what the expectation is.
Well, you know what the expectation. You know what the expectation is over there. So.
Well, that's the problem over there, and that's been my point about this forever. I think Kalen DeBoer is a good coach. They've got good players. They're going to win some games, and they're going to be pretty good. The problem is at Alabama, they expect to never lose to Vanderbilt. They expect to win a game at Tennessee when Iamaleava completes less than 50% of his passes. You're in a one-score game with 5 minutes to go on your home field against South Florida. You need to survive an onside kick on your home field against South Carolina. Like, their record is 6-2. They're just not impressive. So I understand why there's a lot of angst around Tuscaloosa. They can pretend like they're not worried about it, but they should be, because this is honestly something with Kalen DeBoer that's been a consistent part of his time as a head coach. I mean, Hanny, look at last year in the college football playoff in the semifinal against Texas. Washington was so in control of that game, and they blew it in the second half, and their mismanagement of the clock gave Texas a pass into the end zone from the 13-yard line to win it. And they survived, but you ignore that. You ignore the blown 17-point lead against Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. I say it all the time, winning mass deficiencies. Well, Kalen DeBoer's got a lot. He's won a lot, but he's got a lot of warts there as well. And the more those warts show and you lose to Vanderbilt or Tennessee or tonight against LSU, the more those people are going to get loud because they're not used to losing.
I've heard this a lot this week. It came as a small surprise to me, probably shouldn't have, that this game will determine how a lot of people feel overall about Brian Kelly. Will the outcome of this game determine how you feel overall about Brian Kelly?
No. I mean, Brian Kelly's coached for 30-plus years, whatever. I know what Brian Kelly is as a coach. He's a good coach. I think the expectation here, and you guys tell me if you think I'm wrong, Brian Kelly came here, and the expectation is somewhere along his tenure he's got to win a national championship. I don't think this team is good enough to do it. I think with the recruiting class he's got committed for 25 and what they're working on for 26, I think you've built the core of a team that should be a championship team. So the result of one game for Brian Kelly isn't going to sway what I feel about him. I mean, if that were the case, I'd look at last week or 2 weeks ago and say, my goodness, you were up double digits on the road against A&M, and then you looked wholly incompetent trying to defend a running quarterback and you blew it. You used up your mulligan. So, no, tonight's not going to change how I feel about Brian Kelly. I mean, you'd love to win this game and win your next 4 and find yourself in Atlanta for the SEC championship game and move toward playoff. But It's a game you'd love to win for a lot of reasons. I mean, it's sort of one of those balance of power games, right? I mean, you beat Alabama in year one, you hang a third loss on Kalen DeBoer. It feels really good to knock them out. But either way, whatever the result is, I'm not going to have a dramatic overreaction.
I'm not either. I do think a lot of people will, though. And this is just my read on the fan base.
Imagine that.
Well,
and,
I think that there is an expectation for him that they were willing to postpone when it was a 14 playoff. I think they said, well, with what you inherited and where you got them in the first 2 years, you weren't one of the top 4 teams in the country, okay. In the third year, you're supposed to be one of the top 12 teams in the country. And this game is going to go a long way towards determining if they make that 12-team playoff or not. So, no, I don't know why it would matter what I think about Kelly overall. Whether they win this game or lose this game, they still got 3 more to go. Whether they win this game or lose this game, Brian Kelly's going to be the coach next year at LSU. So I'm not going to, use up my whole, all of my emotion on this game as for what I think about Brian Kelly. But I do think that there will be a lot of people that say, hey, in the third year, you're supposed to make the playoff. And if they lose tonight, they almost certainly won't do that. I feel the same way about Billy Napier, at Florida. My problem with, if I were a Florida fan, isn't that you hung in there close with Georgia and you played them, a 2-touchdown game. My problem is that you assembled a roster that's a 2-touchdown underdog to Georgia in the first place. Okay, if you're the University of Florida, you're supposed to have a comparable roster to Georgia, Texas, Alabama, LSU, Auburn. Well, Auburn most years. And they don't. Then that would be the question I'd ask Billy Napier, and it goes way beyond what Texas did to him today with the third string quarterback in there. All right, Matt, give me last thoughts on how you expect the game to play out tonight.
I just think LSU's got to listen. If LSU can control Jalen Milroe, doesn't have to stop him, but just not let him beat you with his legs, then I think LSU wins this game. I mean, it's going to be a 4-quarter game, but I think the real story is Alabama's defense is not going to stop LSU. LSU's got too many receivers. Garrett Nussmeier's a really good player. As you said, the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter gets A&M the worst he played all year. Go out tonight, sling the ball around, use your weapons, and I think LSU wins this game 34-27.
Whiskey and Wine immediately following LSU and Alabama.
Oh, T-Bob and I will be at Don Juan. Can you imagine what it'll be like if LSU knocks Alabama out of the playoffs? Oh, my God.
Is T-Bob already there? He might be.
I think he got there.
He actually might be.
He might be.
I think he got there yesterday. All right, Scone, have a good show, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. See ya.
Ole Miss answered the Georgia touchdown. Austin Simmons directing a drive. They converted at least 1 4th down on that drive. They got the touchdown. And so 7-7 Georgia and Ole Miss, 6.5 minutes to go, a little over 6.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. We're at Rouse's for all of your game day tailgating stuff. Come on over here to Rouse's. Get stocked up on ice and beer, wine, spirits, all of your food, your chips, soft drinks, all of your utensils, and garbage bags, and paper plates, and anything you need to go tailgating, you can get it here at Rouse's. We're just a couple of miles off of the campus. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206.
98.1.
Weekday mornings at 7 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from OTB, here's T-Bob Hebert.
Break down LSU's ability to stop a dual threat quarterback, because that is one of, Jake, the more interesting elements here where we have contradictory pieces of evidence, right? You have really struggled at times against running quarterbacks. I think Lenore Sellers is doing a really good job against you. Now, granted, your pass rush was solid enough where you got to him and you knocked him out of the game. You never seek to knock someone out of the game, but it was not dirty, and it was a legitimate football play that led to him not being able to play. That was a good pass rush, right? So Lenore Sellers, bit of a mixed bag, though.
Yeah.
Sellers probably winning that game early on. Taylon Green, though, you absolutely dominate. Now, Taylor was a bit more. He was having a pretty good impact in that first, maybe a bit better than the final score indicated. Feels like, but like you end up dominating him. But then Marcel Reed comes in, and that's kind of its own weird situation. But he completely dominates you, and so it's like, how do we feel about LSU defending a dual threat guy and probably the premier one in Jalen Milroe?
Yeah, and it's a fair question, and the way you lay it out, you're right. Like, they've done really well, and they've not done so well. And, you know, the Marcel Reed, that's so interesting. And I know a lot of people kind of get angry when we talk about, you know, not preparing for him. How do you not prepare for him? And because Connor Wigman was their guy, and it's not like you didn't work on some of that stuff, and you always have it in your back pocket. But when you're in college, it's not the NFL. Like in the NFL, you have time to cover everything. You don't have that same luxury in college football. So I'm not saying that it would have gone incredibly well, but I think it would have looked better against Marcel Reed.
Well, and how about this contextually as well? You give a running quarterback who has a deficit to overcome, you give him a 15-yard field, right? And then
multiple
like a 20-yard
times,
field. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, like, it was kind of a perfect storm of.
You got him comfortable early because he had 15 yards. He's a talented player.
And he's good, though. Like, I know A&M got their ass kicked last week, but Marcel Reed was really good for a lot of that game.
So good.
Yeah, I know. South Carolina's defense
Really
is awesome. Like, Reed was actually standing up to, like, insane Williams-Brice Stadium. Like, I'm still a believer in Reed, very much so.
Oh, he'll be
long-term.
good, yeah.
But yeah. So that was a bit unique there.
So I wonder if they had the same game plan that they had against Arkansas. Against Arkansas, it's like, hey, we are going to make sure that we don't get beat by you running the football, and we're going to allow you to hit these 5-yard drags. We're going to allow you to, that's going to be you until our pass rush figures it out. And LSU's pass rush did figure it out against them, but they had a plan, keep everything kind of in front of you. They weren't as aggressive as they've been in the past, and I think it was because of the running quarterback. I expect it to be more of the same. Like, you even did a pretty good job against Jackson Dart. I know he had some Q runs in 3rd and long situations where Ole Miss was trying to, just get what they could, and so the yards might not look like it. But I thought you did a pretty good. Like, Jackson Dart can run.
Yeah,
I mean, he had another 50 yards.
It's fair to call him a dual threat.
He had another 50 yards against Arkansas this last weekend. So I thought you did a pretty good job there, but you're going to have to do your best job in this game.
Yeah, because like Marcel Reed felt that last game, Jalen Milroe is likely the fastest player on the field when he's on the field, or he's close to it, right? He's right up there with all the wide receivers.
I was about to say, like, there's nobody you have on defense that's as fast as him, and I can speak that in absolutes.
Maybe Ryan Williams on Alabama's offense would be, I don't know. But, yeah, Jalen Milroe, probably the fastest guy on
So
the
now,
field.
I believe more in Milroe as a thrower than most do, but I still would make him beat you throwing the football, which you did not do. You had a masterclass on how not to do that a year ago. Yeah. Like, I still can't believe how bad that defensive game plan was against Jalen Milroe. Like, if you have a better game plan.
Let's just defend the pass. Let's drop everybody into coverage.
And turn their backs to Jalen Milroe. See how that works out for us. If you had a better plan, you win that game a year ago. Like, I truly believe that. Like, it was the plan that got you beat. You can point to 7 plays in that game that you didn't play Jalen Milroe correctly, and you lost the game. Because think about it. The momentum you had, you scored before half, you score coming out of half.
I know.
And you just didn't do what you needed to do to stop a guy
Jaden doesn't get hurt,
that is as athletic as anybody on the field. And he's going to make plays with his legs in this game, but how much can you minimize those plays?
How do we feel about the Ryan Williams factor?
You just say, hey,
Zy Alexander.
You say, hey, Zy Alexander, you're our guy. I would not have, and I'm never, traveling corner sometimes can get you in trouble, but I would have a hard time not having Zy Alexander on him 80% of the time.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like anybody else that runs up against him, if you're in a man.
Ole Miss game, you tried to just allow it to play out, and you're like, oh nope, can't do that.
Yeah,
can't do that. Zy, you got Trey.
Yeah, and then he shut him down. Yeah. After that, so that would make sense. What about this? If you look at when Jalen Milroe has struggled this year, probably the main time was Tennessee, right? The next closest would have been South Carolina. Both big road games in tough environments, so that's something you have going for you. But more importantly, Jake, probably definitely South Carolina, probably the best D-line in the entire SEC. And Tennessee right up there with maybe like Ole Miss, as either 2 or 3 in the league. So again, on the road against an elite D-line, that's the time when Alabama's that time when Jalen Milroe specifically looked really bad or okay. LSU's defensive line is going to have to be at their best and at their most disruptive, winning their one-on-ones. I think if they're going to recreate some of that,
you got to worry about rush lanes this week.
Yeah.
Certainly. Like, when you kind of think about when LSU has gotten home, it's been around the bend. It has been around the tackle. It hasn't been a lot of interior stuff. And it hasn't really even been from your edge rushers, any kind of up and under situations. Not been a lot of inside rushes. But you have to be careful. My point in laying that out is you have to be careful when you get home by going around the tackle, because if that pocket gets too high, then Milroe is going to have the ability to step up and take off. So you have to find the balance of rushing the quarterback, but also staying with rush integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's hard. I mean, these edge rushers, they are wired to go get the quarterback, but you do have to be careful in your rush in a game like this and still create the pressure that you're talking about.
Yeah, and then look, you'll have spy stuff with Weeks.
Suggs has been really good in the interior rush.
Yep,
but he hasn't played as much. Does he play more in this game because of that ability?
I was just thinking that in my head as you were talking like 30 seconds ago about Suggs. So it's crazy that you just got there as well, because I'm wondering, does he take on greater import, trying to maintain some of that interior pass rush so that maybe Milroe can't step up or you have it more locked down. And look, a lot of this will come down to scheme. I think Baker's done a good job this year. Maybe Marcel Reed excluded, of when they rush a dual threat quarterback. A lot of times they've done a good job of scheming up games where they kind of funnel him to where they want to, right? Where maybe you have the end go up and under, specifically trying to influence him to roll that way. Only Weeks or somebody else, Major Burns, is coming right off the edge there, kind of waiting with open arms. So, again, I feel pretty good. I don't think LSU's D-line's quite is not on the level of Tennessee's or South Carolina's, but they are good. and Baker's scheme has been solid. Like I feel like there's a good chance they could have some of the same success that those teams had against Milroe.
JVR Suggs, as we mentioned, like really good rushing the quarterback. Now, some of his run defense has been good, hasn't been terrible, hasn't fallen off a cliff or anything, but you know what his pass rush grade is on the year?
I mean, I know his pressure rate's pretty insane, so I'm guessing like 85 or something.
87.
Yeah, that's crazy.
On the year. That's a big number.
That's a huge number.
I mean, it was 90 against A&M. It was 75.5 against Arkansas. 84 against UCLA. So some of the power teams that you have played, like I'm not counting Nichols and South Alabama where he dominated those games. Like even if you take those out, for the most part, like in your biggest opponents, he's gotten after the quarterback really well.
Yeah.
I mean, he had what they consider 10 key plays in the Texas A&M game alone.
Protect your home with dependable roof repair and service. GarciaDidMyRoof.com.
WTGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The best kept secret in town is
98.1.
The dependable storage college football scoreboard. Dependable storage. Let us store your stuff. DependableStorage.com.
Significantly for the Rebels in Oxford. So when last we left you, Jackson Dart was in the locker room. Austin Simmons was going in the game, and Georgia was up 7-0. So Simmons comes in. He takes Ole Miss right down the field, goes 5 out of 6 on the drive, converts a 4th down. They score a touchdown. They get the ball back, and here out of the locker room, miraculously healed, is Jackson Dart, who leads them on a field goal drive. Then they get the ball back, and they are back into Georgia territory as the first quarter comes to an end. 10-7 Ole Miss at the end of one, and they're down inside the Georgia 30. Quite the turnaround, Moose.
Yeah, especially because, Hanny, we were sitting here going, that couldn't have started any worse for Ole Miss, and now the momentum is just squarely on their side. We've seen slow starts from Georgia before. The thing is, normally not in games like this where people are doubting them.
They have trailed, this is a surprising statistic, in 13 of the last 16 SEC games.
Yeah.
They have been behind at some point.
Play with their food.
All right. Yeah, but usually not against good teams.
That's what I'm saying. Usually not when they're doubted and Kirby can rally the guys.
Yeah. All right. Third quarter score, UAB leads UConn 20-3. Halftime score, Marshall leads Southern Miss 17-3. Second quarter scores, number 8 Indiana leads Michigan 13-3. Extra point to come. Kansas leads number 17 Iowa State 21-7. Army leads North Texas 7-3. About 5 minutes to go to the half there. Duke leads NC State 12-3. San Jose State leads Oregon State 7-3. These are all second quarter scores. James Madison leads Georgia State 21-7. Virginia Tech leads Clemson 7-0. Texas Tech off to a good start against number 20 Colorado 10-0 Red Raiders. But 6 minutes to go in the first quarter there. Kennesaw State and UTEP are tied at 7. Tulane leads Temple 7-0 inside of 4 minutes to go. They just started in Nashville about 20 minutes ago, and there's no score between South Carolina and Vanderbilt. South Carolina does have the ball on Vanderbilt's side of the field. Earlier finals today, number 2 Ohio State, no problem with Purdue, 45-0, 3 touchdown passes for Will Howard. Upset of the day, Georgia Tech knocks number 4 Miami from the ranks of the unbeaten. They beat the Canes 28-23. Haynes King did play for Georgia Tech. He ran 20 times for 93 yards and a touchdown. They used 2 quarterbacks in the game. Cam Ward, 348 yards and 3 touchdowns in a losing effort. Number 5 Texas, no problem with Florida, 49-17, the final there. Aiden Warner, the freshman quarterback for Florida, threw 2 interceptions. Quinn Ewers threw 5 touchdown passes for Texas. Rutgers beats Minnesota 26-19. It was Boston College over Syracuse 37-31. West Virginia, their 3rd consecutive road win. They beat Cincinnati 31-24. Texas State beat UL Monroe 38-17. It was Navy over South Florida 28-7, and Liberty over Middle Tennessee 37-17. And that is your college football scoreboard. Our LeBarish countdown to kickoff sits at just over 3 hours from right now. We're at Rouse's, where you can get all of your game day supplies, all your tailgating supplies, and all your holiday items as we get closer towards Thanksgiving. Come on over and pick up your stuff at Rouse's. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll hear from Pat Smith with Jocks in Birmingham. That's next. Here from Rouse's, Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at Relief
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Opposing Media. Presented by Rev. Rev. Fiber fast internet made in Louisiana.
Our buddy Pat Smith, WJOX here in Birmingham. He's on Twitter at Pat Smith Radio. Love to follow. Pat, great to chat as always, man. How are you?
Matt, I'm doing so well. Now, technically, Nick will probably be on the sideline. He just won't have headsets on.
Are they going to let him on the sideline, or is he going to be up in a suite? I heard he was going to be in a suite.
He probably will be in a suite, and now that there's going to be a Tiger on the sideline, probably will not be down there.
Yeah. Old Omar the Tiger is going to be hanging out on the sideline for a little bit. Anyway, what weird thing. But anyway, I'm curious. We've obviously had the Saban conversation here a ton. I mean, I've had it since literally the day he retired. But specifically for this week, Pat, how big of a deal is that, Nick not being there for Bama for the first time since 2007?
Well, it's big in the respect that they've already lost 2 football games. I mean, that's why it's a big story. I mean, if Kalen DeBoer had that thing continue to roll after the Georgia win, and then you go to Nashville and you throw up on yourself, then it becomes a problem. That's when people start, manipulating the idea of what Kalen DeBoer is not wearing on the sideline has anything to do with their rush defense or them not being able to stop teams on third down. So, yeah, I mean, it comes up not as much as many people probably think it does in regards to, man, I wish Nick Saban was back, things of that nature. But as far as this game goes, they know it's an elimination game. People, they understand, and I'll give you credit, Matt. I mean, we had you on our show back in spring ball, and you kind of laid out the season, and you told us that you fully anticipated that the game between LSU and Bama there in Baton Rouge in November was going to be an elimination game for the college football playoff. And my friend, you are Nostradamus when it comes to football, because here we are. That's exactly what this game is on Saturday night.
Strikes and gutters, man. You get something right. Everybody's going to remind you about the 10 things that you get wrong. But can you tell a material difference watching like every snap of this team with what they were and what they are? Where would you notice a difference?
Well, in my opinion, like before the season started, and I'm sure Cole Kublik has shared this with you as well. He's been at practice. I have people that's at practice that give me intel, things of that nature. They said at practice, outside of obviously music blaring, doing things that the young kids like to have now at practices. For the most part, I mean, Kalen DeBoer, he's a fiery coach at practice. I mean, there's no difference. He's not wearing a straw hat like Nick Saban did. But they tell me that there's no difference there. But, the last couple of years, Matt, and you can kind of see some cracks in this Alabama foundation because there were certain games that they just did not look. I mean, you had dumb penalties. You had all these unforced errors that just was not part of the Alabama DNA for many years under Nick Saban. And the last couple of years before he retired, those things started bubbling up. And it was very difficult for Nick to kind of get a grasp and try to get the attention of these players to kind of firm things up. Well, that's kind of bled over to Kalen DeBoer. The number of penalties that you have, the stupid penalties you had, especially against Tennessee and Vanderbilt, came back to haunt them. That's the areas of the football team that has kind of bled over from Nick Saban. So the biggest difference probably you haven't seen in about 5 or 6 years, because that was really the last time that Alabama was playing the Nick Saban-like offense and defense that we so got accustomed to.
Let's focus on the defensive side. Pat Smith's our guest, WJOX there in Birmingham, on Twitter at Pat Smith Radio. Y'all give him a follow. I've talked a lot this week about the run defense. Odd to say this, Pat. Statistically, Alabama will be the worst run defense LSU will have played this year. What's going on there that has caused Alabama to maybe struggle at times this year against the run?
Well, one thing's for sure, going into the season, coming out of fall camp, the biggest worry was going to be the secondary. And then all of a sudden you look up, and Alabama's number 2 in the SEC with 11 interceptions. I mean, they have been on fire the last few games, defensively speaking, from the secondary standpoint. But the running attack, teams have been able to run between the tackles, and that's always been an area that Alabama's been able to stop. You know, is this going to be the rush defense that you had against Georgia? Georgia had 80 yards rushing, and you saw the outcome of the game. But then you go to Tennessee, you give up over 200. You give up 160-something to Vanderbilt, another 130 to South Carolina. You know, that's the one thing that's really freaked people out down here, is because even when Kirby was the defensive coordinator, then obviously, you know, Nick ran through a bunch of DCs, but you knew it was Nick's defense. They could stop the run. You might have problems on the back end, but for the most part, they just don't have those playmakers. I mean, the number one guy in the trenches is LT Overton, who is a transfer portal guy. You know, he came from Texas A&M, and the recruiting gurus in our state will tell you that that is one area, even the last couple of years under Nick Saban, they were not able to recruit at the level that they wanted to. And not to mention the fact when you lose a guy like Dallas Turner and obviously Anderson, who's now with the Texans, you lose those guys. Those are generational type talent, but they just have not been able to fill those holes for those really big playmakers, those disruptors on the defensive front.
Do you think on the back end they can hang with LSU's receivers and Nussmeier and all those guys slinging it around? Because LSU struggled to run it, but the one thing they've done really well this year is throw it.
That's going to be tough. And the reason why is we go back just a couple of years ago when Bryce Young was the quarterback at Alabama. I mean, look who ultimately did Alabama in. It was Taylor. And that's, I've heard his name mentioned a lot this week from people in Tuscaloosa. That is the person, yeah. The other wideouts are a huge concern for Alabama. But it's that tight end position. You know, are the linebackers going to be able to play good enough and to be able to stop that? So they believe that they got a good plan coming into the game on Saturday night. Now, listen, it goes without saying that if you can disrupt Garrett Nussmeier, what you saw, obviously, the second half against Texas A&M, then they like their chances better. But if LSU finds a running game and you can't stop them or get off the field on third down, this is going to be a very long night for Alabama.
Pat, I think we are in for an offensive football game. I think both defenses are going to struggle a bit. So let's flip it, and I want to ask you about Jalen Milroe. I asked Brian Kelly earlier this week what differences he's noticed in what Tommy Rees asked Jalen Milroe to do a year ago and what Kalen DeBoer is asking Jalen Milroe to do now. When you watch Milroe year to year, what do you see as far as a progression as a player?
I see a guy that is really torn on what he wants to be as a quarterback. Does he want to be a dual threat? For a long time last year, until the LSU game when he went off for what he did numbers-wise, he wanted to be a pocket passer. And just almost like Jalen Hurts was in Tuscaloosa. I mean, that was always the rub. You know, Jalen, towards the back end of his Alabama career, he wanted to, I'm talking about Hurts, sure. He wanted to be a pocket passer, whereas, you know, Nick knew that, you know what, I just don't want to give it all in and let, you know, be a dual threat and run the ball and throw it. Well, Jalen Milroe's been kind of the same way. He's kind of been like, you know what, I don't want to do all that running, to the point to where a couple weeks ago, you had people calling our radio station going, hey, Milroe's got to be hurt. Like, since the Georgia game, he just looks different. He's just not running with authority. I mean, he's not getting to the edge. He's not doing those type things. So it's a very long answer to your question, Matt. But for me, I'm seeing a quarterback that is still kind of torn. And I think Nick Sheridan, who's the offensive coordinator at Alabama, he's also torn what you want to do. He's thrown 3 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions in the last 4 games and only has 100 yards rushing. For Alabama to be successful Saturday night, he has got to have the type of game that he had against Georgia. If not, the Bama run game has been a problem with the other 2 guys. It might be just a tough night for Bama to try to move the ball that way. It would have to be with his arm.
Pat, where do you see – look, there's playmakers still in the – everybody's talking about Ryan Williams, and Milroe's obviously very capable, and Jam Miller. I mean, there's athletes there. Where is there a weakness on Alabama's offense?
To me, it's crazy for me to say this, Matt, but it's the quarterback. And it goes back to what I just said a few moments ago in regards to him trying to figure out what he wants to be and what this offense needs him to be. I mean, I've had people tell me that obviously the quarterback that's in that quarterback room is Austin Mack. He is the transfer from Washington. He's a true freshman. He's a guy that committed to Washington, signed at Washington, and then he ultimately followed to Tuscaloosa. He's still a couple years away. But That's the kind of offense that I think that they want to run. I think Jalen Milroe right now, they're really struggling to try to figure out what he wants to do. And I know it's crazy for me to say that that's kind of the weakness there, because until you decide you're all in on one way or another and not just play every other week, it's kind of helter-skelter. I think that's the problem with this offense right now. It's very disjointed. Do you want to run it? Do you want to be a pocket passer? It hasn't been since the Georgia game that they've had a good mix of both to be able to do that.
Pat Smith is our guest, WJOX in Birmingham. Hey, Pat, what do you think ultimately tilts the balance one way or another in this game?
I think it'll be third downs. I really do. Bama has had a huge problem this year, Matt, just huge problem getting off the field when they needed to get off the field. And seeing what Nussmeier did against Ole Miss and against Pete Golding, that defense, that scares the heck out of Alabama, because they just have not been able to get off the field on third down when it really mattered. Yeah, they shut out Tennessee in the first half, just like everybody else has lately there against the Vols. But in the second half, when they had to have those third down stops, they just did not get it. And that comes back to, if it's a short third down situation, can LSU have a running game to run between the tackles that teams have had success? And if Nussmeier gets hot, like he did on those final drives and then overtime against Ole Miss, then all of a sudden that is going to be very problematic for Alabama.
If LSU wins and Bama gets hung a third loss, how do you think, last thing, how do you think that is received, the temperature there around the program?
People will lose their mind. Absolutely. I mean, listen, the type of things that was being discussed after the Vanderbilt loss and then the Tennessee loss, it was ridiculous. I mean, it took me back to the days of Dennis Franchione and Mike Shula, before Nick Saban got there. Just ridiculous stuff, like what the coach is wearing, what they're playing, the music they're playing at practice.
That shirt was a little small, Pat. That shirt was a little small.
I mean, let me say something. I mean, it's just crazy. The type of, it literally took me back to, 1997 with Paul Feinbaum and listening to Alabama people on a Monday. It's just everyone forgets before Nick Saban what it was like. And a lot of these Alabama fans, the old guard, they are very concerned of going back to football team that's going to lose 3 to 4 ball games every year. Unlike the situation down at Auburn, which is an absolute you-know-what show. Yeah. But besides that, Alabama is just trying to hold on and try to get, at least in year one, to CFP.
He is Pat Smith, WJOX there in Birmingham at Pat Smith Radio. Y'all give him a follow there on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now. Hey, Pat, we always appreciate the time, man. It's great to chat as always. We'll visit soon, okay?
Hey, thanks, brother. Talk soon.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Presented by Super Chevy. Talkin' Tigers. Talkin' Tigers. Linebacker Greg Penn.
I think we're very confident. I think we trust in what the coaches have planned for us this week. I think we want to go out there and execute and really just put on a great show. And I think we're ready to play. I think we trust in each other. I think that's the most important part, trusting the guy next to you. So I think we're very confident.
Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier.
I don't think people have been able to, just double Kyron and things like that because those other guys have really stepped up and made a lot of plays. Throughout the entire receiver room, guys have just been, there when we needed them, making plays, and they've made very clutch plays, very big plays for our offense.
Defensive end Savion Jones.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely easy. We get a lot more film on him, a lot more tape that he has compared to last year. So it just helps us be more well prepared going up against him.
Tight end Mason Taylor.
Sometimes we've overemphasized the run game, or just overemphasizing something, and kind of finding that balance of work and the workload we need to be a complete offense has been very important to us. So finding that little balance and executing all the plays and being more simple is what we've been working on for sure.
Linebacker Greg Penn.
I think Miro creates a lot of problems for defenses, really at all levels, up front, linebacker-wise, and secondary. So, it's really, we're going to need all of us. Everyone has to hone in and do what they're supposed to do and do their job. It's not going to be a one guy that can just stop him. It's going to take a collective group of guys going out there and just doing what we're supposed to do.
Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, I think Chris is a very good football player, and I think that, we've been telling you guys that for a while. I think that, he's shown it in flashes, and I definitely think he was a little rusty, just kind of shaking things off. Obviously he missed, 6 to 8 weeks that he was out, so that's tough for anybody in this sport. I think Chris is going to, continue to work. That's who he is. He's not going to, stop or give up or anything like that. He's had injuries in his career, little setbacks that he's been able to overcome. I think this is just going to be another one of those, and I think he'll push through it, and you'll see him really come out of his shell soon.
Defensive end Savion Jones.
It's good to have a pass rusher that's equally just as good as you. That just takes some of the load off you, because it's like, you can't double team both of us. So it's kind of like you pick your poison on who you want to wreak havoc in the backfield during that game. So
tight end Mason Taylor.
Yeah, for sure. This game lives up to the hype every single year, so I think it's a big game for us. And yeah, it's time to create another memory for sure.
Linebacker Greg Penn.
To make it simple, really just with a running quarterback, creating extra gas and things like that, guys just having their eyes right and doing their job is basically the simplest way I could put it, to not give away the game plan, but really just doing your job and not trying to do the next person's job, just making sure you know what you're doing.
Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier.
I thought they've done a good job. Coach Davis is the best O-line coach in the country. I have full faith that, he'll get those guys ready to play. I think that also we have a lot of leaders in that group, with Emery and Miles and Will, and those guys, and DJ as well. So, they'll all come together, step up, and, they'll help Paul out, whatever he needs, make sure he's ready. And, I think Paul's done an unbelievable job stepping up and, attacking this task, and I think he'll be ready.
Defensive end Savion Jones.
I feel like it's extremely important because we all know that he got good legs on him. He quick to get out the pocket, but we can't rush scared of his abilities to run the ball. We can't let his legs hinder our ability to pass rush. So it's just, making smart rush moves, knowing what kind of rushes we could do during what kind of plays. So.
Tight end Mason Taylor.
I think it just all starts in practice with him and the offensive coordinator showing I could be that guy on third down or whenever we need a conversion. And that's just the consistency in our practice and showing the offensive coordinator I can be there and make those plays.
Linebacker Greg Penn.
I think everyone in this building knows the importance of this game. I think every guy's come to work and has really shown the importance of this game. So us going out there and really just not trying to do too much. We know the atmosphere is going to be college game day, all that. So just going out there and doing what we do, I think that's the simplest way to put it. Just do what we do, and I think we'll have the outcome we want.
Talking Tigers. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-12681 offices in Baton Rouge. Eagle 98.1 WDGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Keys to the V. Presented by Coors Light. Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill.
Ole Miss leads Georgia 13-7 with a little over 3 minutes to go in the first half. Rebels looking at 4th down and 7 from the Georgia 36. Since the disastrous start, the first half a dozen plays of the game, when Jackson Dart got hurt, they turned the ball over, and Georgia punched it in very quickly for a 7-0 lead. It's been all Ole Miss. They lead on the yardstick 225-49 right now. So
man,
they
didn't
have
see that coming.
Completely not when Dart went to the locker room.
Yeah.
It was very difficult to see that they would turn this around this quickly. But they only lead 13-7. We'll see if they can convert this 4th down. All right, let's bring in Richard Dixon. Will be with us on postgame as well. Rich, good afternoon. How are you?
Doing good, man. Watching the same game y'all talking about, trying to figure out why they still trying to run Jackson Dog.
Thank you.
That's exactly what we said during the break. So Rich, he went into to the injury tent. He came out of that real quick. He was limping real hard. They sent him to the locker room when he came back with enough wrapping on it. Like Gordy said, it looked like a snow boot.
Yeah.
When you go into the locker room limping that bad and you come out not, what did they do back there?
You ain't feeling it anymore. That's what it is. He got the magic medicine.
Right. He'll feel it on Monday.
He'll feel it. He'll feel it as soon as the game's over.
Okay. Well, for the moment, he's gonna tough through it. All right. Let's talk about LSU and Alabama. Rich, we watched in the Texas A&M game when we did the film on the Handycast, which you go get on YouTube. You pointed out a number of places where LSU's scheme was fine against Marcel Reed, but they didn't execute it very well. So when they said, hey, we didn't work on the running quarterback, if they make some run fits and they make some tackles, they were in position and just didn't do it. So how do you feel about them defending Jalen Milroe?
Well, I feel pretty good about it. I mean, there's one thing I know that that was such a big deal in the game. There's so much talked about that over the last 2 weeks. They have worked on those run fits. They understand what's going to happen, and these guys are going to be ready for a QB run game.
Brian Kelly talked this morning about lanes, staying in your lane. And to me, that's really important, obviously, but it starts with the two guys on the outside. So this has been a good year for Swinson and Jones. A lot of pressure on them to keep Milroe in the pocket in this game.
Yeah, they're going to want to stay even. I mean, they're not going to want to get these guys to rush up the field and gamble trying to beat the tackle around the end. You're going to want to get up level with the quarterback, squeeze down, and make him stay in the pocket, and hopefully get a D tackle, get free.
We talked about this yesterday on the Daily Show. I asked you how much you would employ the spy, and we're going to assume that's going to be Whit Weeks if they do it, on Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, I want to see some of the spy, but I want these guys just to play their game and have guys, play with situational football. Understand that if you got a man-to-man on a running back and he's staying in blocking, your next focus goes to Milroe. You got a wide receiver, a tight end that chips off, is getting out of the play, and that's your guy. Turn your focus to Jalen Milroe. All the guys got to be sure that once that their responsibility is no longer key, they got to put their eyes towards Milroe and have all eyes on him.
We were speculating about Zy Alexander potentially flipping sides with Ryan Williams. You pointed out yesterday on the show that they really haven't done that. Of course, I don't know if they've seen a receiver this good either. Do you expect Alexander to travel or to stay put on one side?
I expect him to stay put. I mean, the next closest guy I'd probably say is Trey Harris when we played against him and he ended up getting injured. But he's an elite guy that we didn't swap the field for either. They're at least going to start playing their game of football and not be dictated by what they're doing. If it starts to beat you, then they may make a change.
What can the LSU offense do to simplify things, or I should say the center, the tackle, the quarterback, the OC, to simplify things for Paul Mubenga?
They just got to go out there and encourage him. There's a lot of guys with a lot of experience out there. I would try to huddle a little bit more, have open line of communication with him. Look, when I was a true freshman, I asked Peter Dykowski what to do on just about every play. I had Teron Black. I was asking questions. You got to communicate there on the field, and luckily they're at home where they're going to be able to hear each other, slow things down a little bit, and communicate while you're out there.
When you watched him, he had to go into that Texas A&M game early. It was in the first half. It was a lot to ask of him as a freshman to go do that. What did you think of the way he played?
I just think he was playing antsy. He played with his head down. He was trying to play really fast and just getting away from his technique. It's something that he was thrown in there in the second or third drive. This is something that he's had 2 weeks to prepare for. They're putting him in that spot for a reason. It's a guy that they trust. He's the next guy up. He's just got to go out there and understand his responsibility and play hard.
Talk to me as a former receiver about playing both in the rain, if it's actually raining, or on a wet field if it rains and then it stops.
You get rid of the new style gloves and you go to the old school leather style gloves. Let them get wet and sticky. You're not going to want to have them slippery gloves that they use today. But, I mean, I was the type of guy that, I had keys when the ground was wet. When if I was a guy a tight end that put his hand on the ground, you would notice that I wasn't putting all weight on my hand. I was trying to keep my hands off that grass as much as possible.
you changing cleats at all here?
They're probably going to go with the 3/4 length instead of the 1/2 inch. It's something that I don't know how much rain the field's getting right now. I don't know if it's downpouring over there. It's sprinkling up here in Central, but if it gets real sloppy, they're going to go to longer studs.
Right now, it's not raining, but it doesn't mean that it won't. So we'll continue.
Second half, maybe.
Yeah, huh?
Second half, maybe, is the forecast I saw earlier.
Get up a big score in the first half, and then we'll be good.
Wouldn't that be fantastic? All right, talk to me about Garrett Nussmeier bouncing back from a 3-interception performance against Texas A&M.
The one thing I know about Garrett is, he comes from a football family. He's got a football mindset. He's got a dad as a coach. He's got to realize to move on to the next play. I've never really seen it shake his confidence. My biggest thing is, we say this like it's beating a dead horse. We got to get a run game going. We got to get something to where 100% of the pressure is not on Garrett to make a play.
Short passes, jet sweeps, things
little
like that.
Bubble screen. Hey, we went back, watched that USC game. We threw some bubbles in it. It was nice. Bring that back.
Yeah, exactly.
The Aaron Anderson play. They scored a touchdown there.
Yeah, and they had an end around to Xavier Thomas in that thing too. And Rich, we should point this out. This is one of the things we picked up on the film. Brian Kelly has said that they're not really built for the screen game because the linemen, he called them elephants on roller skates. But the screen game that we watched in the USC game was out of bunch formations and not really pulling linemen to the outside.
Yeah, I'm not asking to get you, middle of the field screen games where you're dropping back, letting them beat the rush. Just quick screen games. Get those receivers. Get Green, who's been great blocking outside. C.J. Daniels healthy, great blocking outside. Use those receivers who are great at blocking on the perimeter and get the ball out to your quick guys and let them make a play.
All right, Rich, we'll see you in post-game. You and I have a little history with doing post-game after LSU, Alabama, so maybe another good one tonight, I hope. We'll see you 90 minutes after.
Last time we won this game, you brought a surprise for us. We'll see what happens.
I did. So we'll see. All right, thanks, Rich. We appreciate it.
All right,
we'll take a break, and we'll be back. We'll go down to Tiger State and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, when we return at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day inside the stadium. Presented by Louisiana Federal Land Bank. Louisiana Federal Land Bank. They're experts in rural land and equipment lending.
Here are the Bears countdown to kick off about 2 hours and 20 minutes as LSU takes on Alabama. Let's go down to the Tiger Stadium and check in with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Chris, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm great, Charlie. Man, oh, man, is this place lit. You know, I said earlier this week that when we talked about the Ole Miss game that it was going to have a feeling like LSU, Alabama. Well, that's what you compare it to because this is LSU versus Alabama. This place is wild.
Well, you know, we had some distractions at the beginning of the week. You know, there was a hurricane coming and an election and all that stuff going on. But by the time we got to Thursday, it started to feel a little bit more about LSU-Alabama week. And I understand that it was probably one of the most lively coaches shows you guys have had on Thursday.
Yeah, it was pretty raucous. It was a wild night. And again, that kind of gives you an idea of what to expect here on Saturday. And, you know, I have a secret route that we discussed a couple of weeks ago on getting here on game day. First time in 6 years that I actually had to tap the brakes. Actually had to put it in park and wait a few minutes. So that I knew then this thing is going to be off the chain.
Well, it's not like we haven't experienced that before. 2 years ago, probably as good a game as Tiger Stadium has ever seen, Chris. And, you know, with the way it ended, just a tremendously exciting thing. So you've been around Brian Kelly this week, and you were around him obviously that week. So kind of talk about his preparation for a game of this magnitude.
I mean, he has talked all week and been around practice. It's all about discipline. And I know that's something they preach every single day. He talked about doing your job and not doing somebody else's job. But they even drilled down, I thought, a little deeper this week about you have to do your job and you must be disciplined depending on what you're going to do. And I think, you know, that really goes into the defensive game plan against a guy like Jalen Milroe. You heard Savion talk about it during the media session earlier in the week. They want to be aggressive, but you have to be disciplined with that aggression from this front four and really this front seven because of what, you know, weaponry that Jalen has, you know, to extend plays, get the big play through the arm, or certainly like we saw a number of times in the matchup last year where those O's opened up like runways and he was able to really beat you with his legs. So, you know, they want to still be aggressive, but he's talked about discipline for everybody, but certainly on the defense this week, coming off a really poor performance last time out in College Station in the second half.
I know you've had a chance to see Alabama. What stands out to you? What differences stand out to you from Kalen DeBoer's team as opposed to Nick Saban's team?
You know, I think they've tried to meet the personnel they inherited. And, again, they lost 39 guys to the draft and to the portal, but they still had plenty of talent over in Tuscaloosa. But I think, you know, early on in the season, you saw them kind of say, okay, let's try to give Kalen DeBoer's offense what we saw at Washington and try to mold that into the weapons we have. I think they're a little more comfortable, and maybe they put it all together in their last game against Missouri, you know, shutting them out. Defensively, what I've noticed, and maybe you agree, is I don't remember as many mistakes, glaring mistakes. You know, they've got a very good secondary, ball-hawking secondary for that matter, but there's been some busts. You know, and it's, you know this, you talk about it all the time. When in years past, when you play Alabama, you can't make mistakes because they're not going to give you the game. You've got to go and beat them. And I still think a lot of that's true. Again, this is a very elite team. But I've just seen maybe some mistakes on defense that I haven't been accustomed to. Now, whether or not those rear their heads tonight for the Tide, we'll have to wait and see. But without question, I think LSU has the potential to do some things offensively. I mean, this is not one of the stellar run defenses that Alabama has put out on the field. LSU, though, has struggled to find any semblance of a running game. When I think of the Ole Miss game and I think of the second half, Charlie, I think of a team that ran enough to not only keep Garrett and the receiving core and the passing attack on schedule, but it gave them some advantages on 2nd and 3, 2nd and 5, as opposed to what we saw in the second half last time, a lot of 2nd and 10s and a lot of 2nd and 12s. And to me, I think if you can get a little bit of running, I'm not looking for a 250-yard rushing attack for LSU, although gladly will I take it, but a little bit to take some of the pressure off, because, that was, to me, the biggest difference in the last game is that everybody in the building knew you were throwing, and Texas A&M had the ability, for the most part, to rush 4, create havoc, and then drop 7, and that's why you end up with the result you did. Can Alabama do that all night? We'll see, because there's been some pretty good defenses that tried that, but then had to start committing other players to try to get to the backfield. We'll see if Alabama's front 7 can do it with just their front 4.
Chris, I had a friend text me that is down on campus, has been down on campus most of the afternoon, said it feels like a wet sauna down there right now. So you give me your thoughts on what the weather is now and what it might do tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it is extremely humid. One of the things I first noticed just walking from my car to the office was, wow, you have a breeze. It was 81 degrees when I got out of the car, yet it's still extremely humid. Right now, I mean, it's, as you can see outside, I'm sure it looks the same way where you are. Looks like at any moment you see a light rain, but right now it is dry, and everybody's got their fingers crossed that will kind of stay that way. I don't anticipate, just looking at the radar, that it will stay completely dry, Charlie, but I don't think we're going to have a deluge of any sort of way.
Well, I told her, I said, you're out of luck because the retractable roof and the air conditioner are not working at Tiger Stadium tonight. So you're just going to have to bear it. Chris, what's coming up on Network Pregame?
Well, speaking of, Hunt Palmer just walked by and pointed to the sky and said, "We good? We good to be outside?" I said, "You're going to be fine. Get down there and get the show going." Kim Mulkey going to join. Always brings a big crowd to Tiger One. So the Hall of Fame coach going to join the crew. I'm sure she'll have plenty of insight on what the Tigers need to do tonight after she came off a big dominating win last night. And then they'll break down the matchups. We'll have, as we always do, a beat writer from Alabama to tell us what he thinks is possibly different from Nick Saban's Alabama to this first-year edition of Kalen DeBoer's Alabama. So it's all going to crank up, in about 15 minutes.
I saw Kim Mulkey's tweet that said that was a career highlight for her to meet Nick Saban, and there were some pictures posted. Hunt's got to ask her what they talked about. I'm dying to know.
Rings.
Yeah, they got a lot of jewelry between the two of them, so he's got to ask her what they talked about. We'll look forward to that, Chris. Have a great call, and we'll talk to you next week from Gainesville.
You got it. Let's enjoy it.
All right. They go to the break in Oxford, 16-7. Georgia, Ole Miss leads Georgia, and after that opening turnover, everything has been Ole Miss's way. They have outgained Georgia 229-69, and so honestly, with Jackson Dart back in the game and even his backup led a touchdown drive, this has really been, save about a handful of plays, all Ole Miss.
All Ole Miss.
Have to go, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Georgia was down way more than this in Tuscaloosa and did more than make a game of it.
The note they just put up there, speaking of that, this is only the second time ever under Kirby Smart Georgia's been held under 100 yards in the first half. The other time was against Kentucky earlier this season.
Carson Beck looks a little out of sorts. He hasn't turned the ball. I don't think he's turned the ball over, but I haven't seen him do it. No, he hasn't thrown an interception, but he just he kind of looks out of sorts. 6 for 10 for 49 yards for the Georgia passing game.
I'm proud of Lane too, Kenny. He's taking the points out there. Look at him.
Yeah, well. After the first 5 minutes, I'm sure he's happy to have the opportunity to take points because it was a bad start. All right, we'll come back, get you a full update on what's going on around college football when we return here at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The best kept secret in town.
98.1. The Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln College Football Scoreboard. Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln on airline under the giant American flag.
Number 16, Ole Miss leads number 3, Georgia, 16-7. In addition to the numbers we gave you before the break, Jackson Dart, 9 of 14, 131 yards. He does have that one interception that began the game, but he left for only one series, and that series was the one series that Ole Miss took in for a touchdown. Sure. Austin Simmons engineered that drive. So Ole Miss leads it by 9 at the break. Fourth quarter score, UAB leads UConn 23-17. Third quarter, Marshall leads Southern Miss 31-3. Halftime score, number 8, Indiana leads Michigan 17-3. Curtis Rourke has thrown 2 touchdown passes for the Hoosiers. Kansas leading number 17, Iowa State 31-13 at halftime in Lawrence. Jalen Daniels has 2 touchdown passes and 1 touchdown run. Early third quarter, number 25, Army leads North Texas 7-3. Bryson Daly is playing at quarterback for Army. He has 60 yards rushing and the only touchdown of the game. Halftime score, Duke leads NC State 12-9. Oregon State and San Jose State are tied at 10. James Madison leads Georgia State 28-7. Virginia Tech leads number 23 Clemson 7-0. That is a halftime score. Cade Klubnik has thrown for only 81 yards and an interception. So Clemson, off that devastating loss a week ago, fails to score in the first half. 2 minutes to go to the break in Lubbock. Texas Tech leads number 20 Colorado 13-7. Shadur Sanders has thrown for 132 yards and a touchdown for the Buffs in the first half. Second quarter scores, UTEP leads Kennesaw State 14-7. Tulane leads Temple 28-0. Darian Mensah 140 yards and a touchdown in the first half. Mekhi Hughes 119 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns for the Wave. 4 minutes to go to the break in Nashville. South Carolina leads Vanderbilt 7-0. Lenore Sellers has thrown a touchdown pass in the game. That was to Joshua Simon. Also in the second quarter, Jacksonville State leads Louisiana Tech 14-7, and UL Lafayette leads Arkansas State 7-0. That game is actually in the first quarter. Earlier finals today, number 2 Ohio State beat Purdue 45-0. 3 touchdown passes for Will Howard. Georgia Tech pulls the upset of the day. They beat number 4 Miami 28-23, despite 348 yards and 3 touchdowns from Cam Ward. Haynes King played today for Georgia Tech at quarterback. They used 2 quarterbacks today. King had 93 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Number 5 Texas, too much for Florida, 49-17, the final there. The freshman quarterback, the third stringer, Aiden Warner for Florida, threw 2 interceptions. Gators also lost a fumble. Quinn Ewers threw 5 scoring passes for the Longhorns. Rutgers beat Minnesota 26-19. It was Boston College over Syracuse 37-31. West Virginia wins their 3rd consecutive road game. They beat Cincinnati 31-24. It was Texas State over UL Monroe 38-17. Navy goes to 7-2 with a 28-7 win over South Florida, and Liberty beat Middle Tennessee 37-17, and that is your college football scoreboard. What's happened to Clemson? No points in the first half? No points.
They got embarrassed, honestly, last week. Louisville won that by 2 scores.
Thinking more of a bounce-back effort from them, but not so far. All right, we're here at Rouse's, our LeBears countdown to kickoff, a little over 2 hours and 5 minutes. We'll take a break, come back, and wrap things up here. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
.1.
wrapping up here at Rouse's. Don't forget Rouse's anytime you're coming to an LSU game. We got 2 more home games left after this one. Just stop by here for all your tailgating supplies, just a couple miles off of the LSU campus. All of your ice, your beer, your wine, your spirits, your meats, your tailgating items, you can get them here at Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. This has been, for the most part, the year of the home team in big games in the Southeastern Conference. Ole Miss at LSU, Alabama at Tennessee, Georgia at Alabama, LSU at A&M, Georgia at Ole Miss today is tracking toward the home team. The one exception to that would be Georgia at Texas, but big road wins have been hard to come by, and it's the biggest advantage I think LSU has tonight. You heard Chris Blair talking just a few minutes ago about how crazy it is getting into campus, and we know that we've seen that stadium be as electric as it can be. The last time Alabama was here, it was one of the best games ever in the stadium. LSU and Ole Miss this year was fantastic. So that's what gives me the confidence to really like LSU's chances tonight. If this game were being played in Tuscaloosa, I would be far less confident in LSU's ability to come away with the win. So the home field tonight, as much as anything, will be in play. If you're going, get loud,
be rowdy.
Go crazy. What would you say after? Go crazy, kids. Go crazy.
Leave it all out there.
Because they're going to need you tonight. And try to win a turnover battle if it's not too much.
Very opportunistic
trouble.
defense on the other side.
Yeah. Final thoughts.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the run game for a reason. I'd like to say one thing about the passing game. This is the first time that Garrett Nussmeier's had his 5 that we thought were going to start the season in relatively healthy. And I think that matters.
Yeah, it does. It does. All right, we'll be back 90 minutes after the end of LSU and Alabama. Richard Dixon and I will take your phone calls in studio immediately following the game. Whiskey and Wine from Don Juan's Cigar Bar with Matt and T-Bob Hebert. That's immediately following LSU and Alabama. For Musso and all of us here at Rouse's, everybody back in the studio, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. From Rouse's, this has been Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Let's see it.